Hey everyone, welcome to the UFO Hub live stream. And today is open lines, where basically you get a chance to call in through Telegram and share your story. So earlier today, or I should say just no more than 5 minutes ago, I've been chatting it up with some of the fellas that are in the chat room. It's always good. I log in, or at least try to log in at least about a half hour earlier, and basically to just chit chat, get everything going, get the system going, and it's kind of nice. Bradley earlier had a good point. You know, we were trying to talk. I think what he's trying to get at, it was talking about time itself and how one minute he's talking to a friend in UK, the next minute he's dialing up and talking to me in the US, and he's in South Africa, and so anyway, it's the wonder of technology, the beauty of this illusion that we call time, and just don't tell him I said that, because I think he calls time a measurement. But anyway, this conversation for a different time. Yeah, we were. Sometimes I just get I don't know what you might call it. Just like all of you, my life and family life and everything we do, we're literally all in the same boat. And I don't mean it from the rich people point of view, where they're on a yacht and helicopters and they're like, hey, hang in there, we all can make it. I'm talking about literally having to deal with restrictions and, or at least I should say, people that believe restrictions should be applied. Thankfully, living in Arkansas, it's other than some mask mandate that some people will kind of, will look at you the wrong way if you're not wearing any. Other than that, it's been actually free in the America that I know and love. But the reason why I'm just starting out this dialogue is just to cover this topic. And of course, as always, this doesn't mean when you call in that we have to talk about specifically about this. The show is about UFOs. The show is about cryptozoology, about the weird things in the world, that the normies, I guess, for lack of a better word, don't talk about. And this would be a way to have an outlet to just talk about whatever experiences you might have had, whether it would be seeing a Bigfoot, talking about channeling, talking about certain alien encounters, all the things that are weird. And it's stuff that has always interested me. But I can't deny the fact that whatever the political temperature is at the moment, that it's not kind of affecting that. It's kind of, it's almost hard not to notice it and have it kind of leap into this show, because I've been always trying to keep it pure, or as pure as I possibly can. I know I haven't been doing a good job when it comes to just let's stick to this weird stuff, because this is the stuff we're all been seeking. But at the same time, I can't help but feel like doing what we do is kind of like the band playing the music and the violin as the ship is going down. At one point they kind of have to stop and see, hey, the ship is sinking and something is happening. And the point here is that I don't want you to think of this in a negative way, because it's not hopeless. There's just a lot of things that have been happening that need to be looked at. But the important part is to continue staying positive, because an example would be, for example, the show. Most people have just I guess for lack of a better word, the privilege, the happiness to just listen to it, and I'm glad. But being on this side, anytime anything gets talked about, doesn't matter, absolutely does not matter what the subject is. There's all kinds of people just attacking messages, sending emails, comments, all kinds of things to just, make sure they let you know that they don't agree with it. And I've been doing it for a very long time, and thankfully I've built myself up to a point to where I just, they call it basically just having thick skin. It's like, okay, I get you have a different opinion. I understand you don't believe in this. You might think all of this is just bullshit. You might think that, you were misled. And those are some of my favorites, when people go, I've been listening and I've been a subscriber for the show a long time, but I saw this one interview and it made me feel like a fool, and I've unsubscribed and I'll never listen to it again. And I'm wondering, what was it that, for one, as a host, that I've promised you, that you feel like that, it's a contract that I will, absolutely, provide the answers that you need. All this platform is literally giving everybody a voice to talk. And I know, even some people that I haven't agreed with, that I don't think they're calling in anymore, because they would say some things that I personally can't even relate, but at least they still had the chance to talk on it. I didn't immediately cut them off, said, nope, okay, that's it, we're done. It's just something that I personally have never done, but the point is that, if everything that the people come to the show to talk about, everything that I try to talk about, is basically trying to bridge gaps, starting from the point where what's considered normal, and then slowly taking the little leaps, kind of guiding them into this weird aspect of reality, to, instead of just going from, talking to the normal person about whatever the normal day-to-day things, and about family life and how was work and things like that, to aliens abducting human beings. Sometimes that can, that's a huge bridge to be gapped. And so anyway, I digress. What I'm saying is that it's important to constantly just remember, whether as a country or as a person, to remember why something is there to begin with. In America's sense to be pretty much one of the first countries to recognize and make it part of its laws that human beings have rights. And in the beginning, it wasn't perfect, but it has evolved. It hasn't just been at one thing. It's as evolved and amended and added and things like that to basically make this as comfortable of a living spot for people as possible. That's why people want to come here in droves, and we came here. My family did, and I've had a very I would say successful life considering where we came from, and so having experienced all these actual racism, actual negative things where people like literally hate you so much that they want to kill you. There was, of course, there was that stuff here too, but it was just there was always the criminal element. If you're not around it, if you, for example, when we first came to the US, we lived in a bad neighborhood. And so we're like, okay, this neighborhood is not good for us, for my brother and I, and for the whole family. Let's just move. It's not like we had the money to move, but basically just instead of paying rent to this house, we would go and pay rent so many miles away to a different neighborhood, different school system, and so on. So, which brings me back again. I guess I'm just going to be digressing all day today. What I'm trying to get at is that what's been happening, it hasn't been easy for a lot of people, but the bottom line, we cannot give away, and we cannot give away freedoms just so that we can get a little bit of an illusion of safety, because true safety doesn't exist. We can put in certain measures to where it makes us feel better. Such things like, doors on the houses, seat belts in the cars, and things like that to mitigate risks. But true safety, unless you absolutely are standing still, not moving in a void, to where nothing can collide with you and nothing can interact with you. I don't know what kind of life that would be for you to live, but unless you're living there, there's always going to be some risk. And the issue or the challenge is that different people obviously don't see eye to eye and see things differently, but the point is that there will be some people that want to be okay with certain amount and reasonable risk, and to all of a sudden, let's say, mandate masks, mandate vaccines, and mandate all the other things to the point to where now people can't potentially get a job because it's the companies or certain big companies, and of course it'll trickle down, are being pushed to mandate vaccines if you want a job. And if you don't, you could be insisting that you don't want it, then you have to, start basically paying a monthly, I call that a penalty. I don't know, they call it a premium. To me, it's a penalty. It's like, oh, you can have a job, but for that, you're going to have to pay. Not just with your time, but also, kind of a kickback. It's no different almost to building it up to like the modern day, coal mining of how it used to be, to where coal miners would go in and work these long, ridiculous hours. Then they would, get their paychecks and then reinvest the money in the coal mining shop to buy the goods and services and things like that. So the money makes its way back, into it. And it's definitely changing from the America that I know, and a lot of things, have been changing to where my family has been affected too. We've been dealing with a lot of confrontations and people because they don't agree with certain things. But I've never come from a place of ignorance. They never want to discuss about why am I doing certain things or the way I'm doing them. They don't want to hear it. They just say, well, according to this paper, this is how you do things, and that's it. Well, I have another paper that shows otherwise. And so, if you insist on your paper, then I'm going to insist on my paper. And, there's going to be some disagreement. And usually that's where conversations happen, to where we truly get to the bottom of it. But now that it's not about truth if you have to go out and censor and fact check and things like that, because you just have a propaganda in every sense of the word that has to be pushed. It has to be basically be the main narrative, because I had thought that surely for the past 15, 20 years, we've known, through all these bad conspiracy theorists, right? There were supposed to be these crazies online telling us about what governments are doing, where things are leading to. They were talking about government spying on you. They're talking about your phones being tapped, your emails being tapped. And, there was the talk about, oh, if people find out, oh my God, it's going to be, there's going to be an uprising. And then it came out and there was nothing. They slowly, there's this narrative about vaccines and masks, and they keep pushing it. Any other doctor that's just as educated and been working in these fields, they're they're not being heard. They're even being ridiculed and kicked off their jobs, or they just kind of have to put their head down and continue working at their jobs if they want to continue having a job, no matter how much knowledge or expertise they have. And so it's basically getting into this point to where you have to realize, because there cannot be there cannot be absolute 100% safety. It will not stop where it's going, because who's to say next, people that want to, let's say, get on an airplane and jump out on an airplane with a parachute, right? Is that going to be allowed? Because you actually, have a quite high percentage of that parachute not opening. And so will you have the freedom enough to actually choose that for yourself? Because as a free human being, you even have to basically have the right, even something as extreme, to choose something as risky as that, and even if it would lead to death. Daredevils, people that constantly try to climb Mount Everest, and as many times as that has been conquered, people still die. And so is that now also going to be eventually down the road going to be put down on the list that you cannot do that, because that would put you at a risk? And if you want safety, your overlords would tell you cannot do that. And so, but there's a huge gap too with this, gap and inconsistency with the narrative, because just recently, there were some decisions, for example, that had to be made, because where we live, if the kids at school, where my son goes, if they have been around someone else that's tested positive for COVID, they give them an option to either quarantine or take the test. Well, as a parent and as a father, I had to basically talk to my son about, I understand you want to get back to school because it's been summer and there's been all these restrictions anyway that initially kicked in. Now they're eased up, but he wants to be with friends. He wants to be out there, play football, do all these different things. And so getting that test will get him back there as quick as possible. Well, the sad part is, I had to tell him about certain things that, for example, what these tests are sterilized with. I don't know how much I can tell you about it, without, YouTube getting onto me. But the point is, you can find it. And the point here is that all the research that I've done, I mean, literally reading the FDA and the studies that were done on this particular thing that's used on those tests, it's basically, they say, yeah, it can cause cancer. Yeah, it's harmful and yada, yada, yada. But where this is false is that because it's the amount of it that's on there. And so I'm sitting there thinking, oh, so if I just had a little bit of crack, that would have been fine. It's a lot of crack. That's what gets you, oh, I wish I would have known that. So let's just all go with a little bit of crack. Why not? It'll be fun, and I mean, I'm saying it, obviously, I hope you understand I'm saying it sarcastically. The point is, if something as logical as that, for example, is not allowed to be looked at, and so now the officials are using that excuse to say that it's okay to just take the test. Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to potentially put my kid under, a risk of that, or my wife or anyone else, for that matter. But so I had to explain this to him, and all he ever sees is that, oh, I would, you know, as I guess maybe every kid, all they see is that you're not letting me do something. They don't care for the higher reason. They don't care for these things that parents have to constantly worry about. All they know is, this is what I want. I have to do this to get that. And they're like, just that, what's the big deal? And so he's old enough to have, a conversation with him. We explained everything to him, and he still then, I said, continue with, to take the test, and test it negative, of course, and then to be able to get back. The point was, my wife and I were made the choice that before we understood and knew certain things about those, she already had taken the test before, just because she was pregnant, going to hospital, and all these other things, and several times. So and the thing is, it's a big if, then there is, God forbid, a repercussion long term down the road. At least we're not putting the whole family in danger. And so we've made certain choices that for the other half of the family, we would just absolutely not cross that line. And it's just something that we'll feel strongly about. It's no different than, the debate has been online for decades too about fluoride, and it's all about you. How do you strongly feel about it? If you read up on it and what it is, I mean, it's entirely up to you. But the point is, there comes a time where you have to fight for it. You have to basically say, okay, well, if I keep going down the road, when you're eventually in the little square box, with bars there, it's too late to do something about it. And so this doesn't have to be looked at in a negative way or in a fearful way. All it means is that who you are and for what you truly believe and stand for, you just have to be that person that just stands your ground. For example, when my wife had to go take that test, it was pretty interesting. She basically, they told her that you can't get in because they're not wearing a mask. And she said, okay, it's fine. Is there any other option? And so because of the safety of everybody, she had to then go to a tent where it was 95 degrees and said to wait here to make sure that everyone else inside is safe and not potentially be exposed, right? She had our 2-month-old daughter with her. And so you're telling me 95 degrees heat, hot as hell, 2 months old, no problem. Like, just put them in the tent because of safety, Now, of course, that didn't last long. My wife had no intention to stay there any longer than the sentence that she finished, because she was then going to go back and then just like, fine, I'll wait in the truck. But that was their mindset. Their mindset was more important to follow policy, and make sure that everyone else is seen that you have this face diaper on, but, talking about safety, never mind, 95 degrees and 2 months old, they fit perfectly together, And so it's that kind of ridiculousness that does drive me nuts. I mean, at the end of the day, I am a human being. And, as I've often said, everything that I experience that bothers me because of my past experiences, I have this tool set that now I can look at and say, okay, well, what's going on here, search my feelings, figure it out, and just, make the best of it, to just then choose the best thing that represents of a human being that I am, and what actions would I take. And the same thing for my wife. We think very much alike, so it wasn't that big of a deal for us to get on the same page. But the point is that it's a narrative that's so strong that any kind of common sense is thrown out the window, and so it's the point is, where do you go? That's why I initially started this out with the title called Global Enslavement. I said, Yeah, stay positive, but global enslavement is happening. The point is that you don't need a military boot stomping on your head to realize something is wrong, only then to say, there's my cause of my problems, and this is what I need to resist. It's very subtle. It's like I said before, it's your neighbors, it's the looks, it's, it's crowds, it's you go to a store and, and all these things. It's like, you literally, it's the herd mentality and the shame that gets basically pushed. And so, and the point here is too, is as many times that as I've said this, if somebody wants to be vaccinated and wear a mask, so do it. I mean, that's what I thought a free country is about, for you to have the choice to do that, right? And so why can't you then leave me alone and allow me to make my choice in this free country? Because according to all the docs, unless depends on which day the flip-flopping the narrative, one day it's fine, next day it's not fine. But the point is, the idea is that you're safe. What you need to feel good in here, and by taking a vaccine and mask, you are safe. What threat am I offering to you? That's basically the bottom line. And so it's now with the jobs, thankfully where I work, job is secure, but I can't, I can't speak for others. I know some others that have to basically make a choice. It's like, you want this job, you have to take vax no matter what your belief system is, and it's getting to a point to where it's messing with people's livelihood. And it's definitely not the America that I know, and definitely not the America that I thought that it could ever get to. Because all these times, it's been literally, we've been like that frog in boiling water. I think if this was happening to this extent 20 years ago, yeah, I don't think it would have lasted, a day, not to mention, for a year and a half. But the America I know has changed quite a bit. I don't know if the fighting spirit, the American way of life, if it's just absolutely dead and we all just become so complacent, but it's just we've allowed other people to shame us into doing things that we don't want to do, but because it's easier and less confrontational to go along with the herd, we've chosen to do that instead. And it's just very obvious that something is happening, And so the point here is that you don't have to do anything crazy, You don't have to go out there and do something dumb. The point is just be yourself and stand your ground. The same way that my wife said, thanks, but no thanks on the mask. Is there any other option you can give me? If not, I'll go somewhere else. The same way when I tried to go into the dentist and they refused me because I wasn't wearing a mask, which also doesn't make sense because you're going to have to remove the mask and my mouth will be wide open for you to work on me. So why rejecting me to even come in makes absolutely no sense, because unless they had these tight sealed rooms and no recycled air, if I was someone that did have something, there was no way that whatever I would have been breathing out, laying there with my mouth open as they're working on my teeth, there's no way that, that would be safe. But people have gotten so crazy about this, oh my God, I have to stay safe, to where they don't think logically anymore. It's just about propaganda, the rules that they were told to follow, and my favorite is policy. Everywhere I go, they always have policy. Sorry, it's our policy. Well, guess what? I can make up my own policy, and my policy doesn't match with your policy. I mean, how far are we going to play this game? And so anyway, the subject doesn't have to be covering this today. I would like for you to call in and chit chat and talk about whatever experiences you might have had, and whether it's alien related, whether it's any of the weird stuff. But I guess just because the certain changes that I've seen even as much of I guess influence even in a state like Arkansas for it to have even permeated that far. It's enough for me to notice and just basically just take the opportunity, because I have this platform, to say we can talk about UFOs all day long, but eventually if there's no job and I can't continue doing what I'm doing, there's no platform, there's no way for you to be able to sit in your own home and listen, to pay for your own electricity because someone else said that you didn't follow the rules, and like I said, so we can talk about UFOs and continue talking about these things. And I wish to continue talking about these things, but I would like just to take the opportunity to remind people to say we have a choice to just stay strong and positive in who we are and not let down and back down, because it just feels like the time for going along to get along has been over for quite a while. And there's ways that we can say, sorry brother, but or sister, I mean, I can't go down the route you're going, and what you're proposing doesn't work for me, right? Because at the end of the day, you have just as much of a right to protest and object as a human being as everyone else. So anyway, I'm done with this segment, or what I wanted to talk about. So let me get first, just to get some things out of the way, just some housekeeping. This Friday, I'm going to have John DeSosa on, and I'm ashamed to say I don't know much about him, but I've heard him speak before, and I believe he used to be an ex-FBI agent that somehow got in contact or learned more about aliens and interdimensional, not travel, but beings that have been traveling, basically coming from other dimensions, instead of basically beings from within our dimension traveling long distances to come to us. Anyway, so I think it will be very interesting to talk to him on Friday at 7 p.m. So of course, you can log in to Telegram, to download it simply through download Telegram on your phone or the computer, and in the descriptions of this video and on Facebook above the video, there's the link to the group, and there's a voice chat going on there right now, and there's a few people that are already in the voice chat. You can use it to just listen. You don't have to participate, but if you like, well, let me switch over here. Like we have Crypto Mojito now. He had his hands raised. That tells me that he would like to speak. So I will get to him when I'm done. And if there's no one else that also would like to speak, I'll just give him as much time as I can to just keep the show going and keep it entertaining. Because at the end of the day, it's about interactions and just talking about whatever else Crypto would like to talk about. And I'll also go through your chat as well and see what everyone else has been chatting on there. So it's basically just us hanging out online, and I'll read some of your comments. Hopefully I get to talk to you, but I certainly would like for you to log in and use Telegram and chat with me today, because that's the whole point, because people respond better to, I guess, information given if they can just hear it instead of me having to read through comments and whatnot. But if you do have, if you're using comments and don't wish to speak but might have a question or want to interact in some way, please make sure to put the 3 stars before your sentence, so that way I know it's meant for me, or generally maybe a question to someone that's already speaking, and so then that way it'll just jump out at me a lot easier. Okay, let me see here first. I have to back up here a little bit. So Bradley, welcome. Just Fab22, welcome. Mike, welcome. Aaron and Lexi, welcome. John, MacRD, and yeah, what's this got to do with UFOs? Well, I hope if you listened, you kind of understood my point. I do shows about UFOs all the time, and it doesn't matter how many times, even if I just for like 5 minutes want to cover just something slightly different, I get comments like that. So can't help it. Drives me nuts sometimes. Um, Jeffrey, welcome as well. Lodi, welcome. Deep Valley, welcome. Edward, PDBD, cool name, welcome. Crypto, welcome. And Isa, welcome. Okay, let's see. All right, well, let me get started with Crypto. He's been waiting there for a while, and we'll see what Crypto has to say. Okay, Crypto, you're unmuted on my end. Unmute yourself on yours, and you should be able to speak.
Hello.
Hi,
Can you hear
how are
me?
you? Yes, how you doing?
Good. Okay. Yeah, pretty good. I heard, I actually do have someone saying that I should not be stopping and talking. I have someone who says pretty much everything I want to do, I don't get to do. It's called a mother. And I shouldn't be here. Okay, like I didn't want to be here, but my karma, I guess you could say reality is giving me my swift kick back in the ass. Uh, it's okay. I accept it, but it's really tough every day when anything that you want to do is met with the opposite vibration. You don't need this. You don't need that. That is a waste of, and the extra comments of, well, I value my time, and just I mean, we're talking serious little knifings to the belly
Hmm.
that every day. So it's no wonder I'm struggling and trying to just plain feel good, let alone feel like I belong in a house, in a suburb, in a larger city. It's just, it's no wonder. It's just no wonder. Uh, but so I can definitely understand when something is under threat, and that's part of our test, I guess, for being here. I get a lot of my, resume that matters stuff comes from, the higher self portal, and a lot of people have tried to answer why we're here and what is our mission and all this stuff. Um, but I think the truth is, this is a suffering planet, and I think the water is definitely boiling, and I don't know what it looks like um, on the other side. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be bad. I don't know how bad it has to get before it gets better. I know we had a World War I and a World War II, and I think, I don't know, is this getting better? I would ask anybody, is this getting better? But I run in and out of restaurants all day, and what I've come to, I think I guess my sick gift from the universe is my mother, and so when I go into a place and, can you please wear your mask? I have it in my pocket. I'll put it on for them. It's kind of like going up to a vending machine and it only takes quarters. Damn
Mm-hmm.
it. You only have credit cards.
Right.
And this NPC wants to get paid in quarters. So, I'm using an analogy, I guess, or a metaphor. And so it's just, at some point, if it breaks and it's not worth it, there's only something amazing on the other side. And I, maybe it's optimism, or I haven't nothing to lose, or I feel like maybe there's nothing left to lose. But if there always is, believe me, somebody can take the very last thing that you love to do away from you.
Right.
Uh, but I would just encourage anyone to let go of the fear and understand that we're dealing with vending machines that only take quarters. Um, as far as all this stuff goes, and it's really crazy. I don't know if it's intellectual level, or the politics, or just personal experiences that everyone else is throwing at each other like, pancakes in the face all day long. It's like, geez. Um, I would just,
Well, I mean, for me,
myself
right. Well, how much longer
listening
till
to
it
the,
actually starts affecting your job more? It's like how much more would you then have to do?
oh
Because
yeah,
like I said with the
yeah,
platform
I
here,
think
it's like okay, we can talk about UFOs all day long, but eventually, if and
I
when it
thought
eventually
about,
gets this far, I can't go on. How about you?
well, I did my shot, so I'm genuinely happy with, not, I'm the fear of getting sick, that's gone. If they find me stuck to my steering wheel with fungus coming out of my nose and ears one day, then remember I was a cool guy, you know. But but I'm just saying, like, I forgot where I was going with this, but like, oh yeah, so like, there's the whole world is really stupid. It's getting bad, and the solution is there. The solution is there. It's different for everybody. Some people will, keep the shotgun by the front door, and it isn't. Uh, it isn't. It's not what I would do. Um, but there's, I don't know where the answer is because I'm not a father like you are, and I'm not like a woman like someone else might be,
Hmm.
because the perspectives are different, and that is where I kind of want to take it into the ether a little bit, is perspectives. I've been into dreams lately. It's been a summer of dreams, and someone said on an important show I watch, he said that his interpretation of dreams. I love getting everyone a record for what their opinion about dreams is, and it's just
Hmm.
an opinion.
Right.
And they always leave it alone at spirit and soul. I just love it. It's just a beautiful little song and dance that each of them does. And I suspect in the German accent, I suspect it's this. And but I love it. I want to hear it. And this week I heard that these dreams give you a perspective. Like he said that when you're young, you have flying dreams. I guess I was in college when I had a flying dream, but mine was, man, I was really flying. Like I felt like it was like, I knew it was not just a dream because I could feel my heart pinching, and it was directly related to the wing flapping. Like I was pushing my heart to fly, to uh, gain, higher above the pine trees as I was flying, and I could feel like I was a bird. I could literally feel what it felt like to be a bird, pushing your little heart and flapping my little wings to get above, but more like big wings, like eagle. It wasn't like a hummingbird. It was like it was wonderful, and it was a gift. And if and it matches up to what he said as far as it's a perspective. The I don't know where he said these gifts come from, like these perspectives, but it's like us. It's like our head is somehow trying to teach us a different perspective. And I'm like, well, I've been swimming, and I called those gifts. I forgot about that one when I was younger, where I was flying, but when I was swimming with, I've been doing a lot of swimming this past year, and I don't know why. It's been a recurring thing. I don't know who I'm swimming with. I met up with someone. I don't know, some dolphin X in Tokyo I was swimming with,
Mm.
and a friend, a real close friend. I don't know who it was. I never saw them, but I knew I was with someone, and we were hanging out together, and I poked my head above the water, and I saw Tokyo. Like, I guess you could call it their skyline. They really don't have a skyline, but I just knew right off the bat I was in Tokyo. I was looking at it, and I was swimming with a friend, and we were hanging out for quite a while. And
Crypto, can I ask you a quick
this other
question?
time, sure.
Well, as you might have heard this expression before, but dreams, everything you dream, you basically you're telling yourself, certain things about yourself. So the different flying and swimming and all that, if you consider that, what do you think that means to you?
I think it's a gift to show me a new perspective, and I know I just heard that, and I was calling them gifts, and I that's what I felt like. Am I supposed to learn, like, know what it feels like to swim? It's what a wonderful gift, you know.
Right.
It's
Do you know how to
to
swim
know
just
what
in
it feels like.
physically?
Uh, I can swim. I can stay above water for a while, yes, and I can
Okay.
go down to the bottom of the pool and grab something and come back up, yes. But I'm
But
no
not,
pro.
I see. But I mean, can you swim like longer distances if you have to?
Uh, I tried to swim across Hamilton Pool in Austin, Texas once, and I couldn't. I almost
Mm.
drowned.
Oh,
I
wow.
almost went out in the middle,
Right.
and that really
Not
scared
saying
me.
that means you need to.
Uh,
I'm just curious because, it's such a simple, mundane question such as that. It amazes me a lot of times, just because, you always think, well, people, everyone learns how to walk, you learn how to, grab cups and things with your hands, when you're in water, you learn how to swim, these basic things. And, sometimes that's not always the case. That's why I was just asking out of curiosity.
yeah, I taught myself how to swim. That's why I suck. But I'm not afraid to try and get out there and do it. Like I remember when I was swimming, I was wondering who I was swimming with because I knew this was something. And one day, the last one, I saw I saw pretty much mermaids swimming alongside me, and they're not as pretty as the Little Mermaid. They're kind of weird looking. Uh, s- but I was pretty surprised. I thought I was a dolphin the whole time. I thought I was swimming with dolphins and that I was a dolphin, but I couldn't see my body. And last time I got to see who I was swimming with, and that was just pretty wild. Uh,
Mm.
but I knew I could feel myself wiggling, like my gut, like shaking my hips to swim. Like I felt myself propelling myself through the water, and that's pretty crazy, man.
Right.
That's crazy.
Crypto, can I ask
When
you a quick
you
question? It
know
was
what?
some,
Sure.
yeah, it's regarding, I think you said the Arcturians, right? Last time, I believe, last week, though you were,
Yes. Uh huh.
um, well, I don't know how much contact you've had. I never really talked to you in depth about it, but what do they say, or if anything, about our current situation here?
Uh, let's see.
Just what's going on with the world, if you know. I don't want to put you on the spot.
I know. No, I know that they. No, I appreciate being put on the spot. I like just letting it flow out or whatever. But I'm pretty sure this is exactly what they dislike about us is that we're humans and this is natural for us, but they wish us the best. This is, I think they would steer clear of this. Their main concern is raising your vibration and adjusting the colors of your frequency. It's so important to them,
Right.
Uh, that's pretty much all they care about. And then, of course, they care about reaching out to us and showing us so that we don't feel scared that we're being abducted. That's why the tour. Um, they're man, they're on a whole new level. I don't think they would even like they wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. you know, like our human things. Normally they just wouldn't. I don't know what would make them touch this. Uh, I do know. I heard. I don't think it was an Arcturian. No, it was just some other ET race of you know trying to stop something major from happening. I heard somebody stopped this from being as nasty as it was. They weren't allowed to do it, so this virus was weaker thanks to some intervention. Um,
I mean, from some
but
extraterrestrials.
that's yes, yes. There was definitely some intervention in this. I think I heard it from. I don't follow him anymore, but David Wilcock. I had already gone down that pretty far with him and listened to everything that he got, and then I just kind of heard him saying some things I didn't want to hear. So,
What do
but
you mean?
yeah,
I'm curious now.
I just don't want to hear about the sex trafficking. I'm traumatized by it when I hear details that I don't want to learn about it.
Hmm.
I think that's someone else's battle. I think that's someone else's firefight. I have a different water hose for a different
Right.
fire, and it strikes a chord, and I don't want to. That's not my wrestling match.
Right. I know what I see
I
what you mean.
wish anyone who chooses, I wish anyone who chooses that one the best. But I got my own personal things to deal with. I was, of course, messed with as a kid, and I don't know, maybe I don't even want to take it there. I don't think it's, I don't know, that's a personal thing, but
Right.
I don't like hearing other new, fresh things to the degree that that guy was kind of saying it, and maybe that was his battle he chose, but I just felt like it was a little bit too striking for me. Um,
Right.
but he did. Also, I listened. Also, Adnan, I listened to his confirmations about this whole thing, this pandemic, and all of his predictions that he was making. And I just thought that, man, for someone who loves to check off confirmations and to hear all these things, I thought his were a little. I didn't think. I just think it was all a little bit too much. I, you know what
I'm
I
sorry.
mean?
You're gonna have to fill in the gaps for me. I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, so sure, let me give an example. Like he was just like, Pizzagate somehow, and then, well, COVID happened in Italy first, and that was to him like a major connection. And I'm like, no, I don't feel that. Like that just fell. It fell like an anvil hit me on the head.
Hmm.
That that was a bit too far. And then I kept trying. I'm like, okay, let's keep listening. Let's keep listening. And then I just realized I had 3 more hours, and nothing was still being really said that I could resonate with, and then I just ended up turning it off and not going back. Um, but I did listen for a long, long time. I listened to a lot of his talks, and I just decided to get off the train. No hate, just saying I can't follow that anymore.
Right.
I need some answers somewhere else. Um,
Right. I
but
mean, no,
to
there's a
answer,
lot.
go back to your
It's yeah.
question.
Well, just real quick.
I
No,
think,
it's one of
uh
these things about when it's been a long time ago, but it really blew my mind when because we always want to stay positive, and it's always important. But it
that's
was
that's all we
interesting
have to
about when
say.
I was,
Yes.
dealing with computers as long as I have, and internet and all of that. I've never really. I always heard about it, but never really looked into the deep web, and some of the stuff that is just absolutely like horrifying that exists, and it shakes you to the core, that there's just unspeakable things. I mean, I'll let everyone else,
Sure.
at least watch a documentary on YouTube about it, of the things that exist, and it's interesting that the internet, the World Wide Web as we know it, is just a very small percentage. Like, I don't know what it is on top of my head, so I don't want to give you wrong numbers, but it's very small compared to the rest of what the internet is used for. I mean, the internet in general, the World Wide Web, half of that alone, of that small percentage that is not the dark and deep web, the internet itself is like even half of that is basically just like computers talking to each other. Your security systems, your ring, you
Right.
pick up your phone to look up to see who's at your door, and these inter communications in that way, and then of course
And
there's
now cryptocurrencies are stealing the show.
right, right. But what I'm saying is that, so even out of that small percentage that is the web, it's even smaller for the actual interactions and websites and all the things that we call the World Wide Web. So it's really interesting kind of go down that rabbit hole and look into that. I mean, you're talking about secrets about UFOs and what the government knows it doesn't know. There's a whole bunch of secrets, that are basically just
Right.
right under our noses, a lot of times.
Well, it's not a secret when George H. Bush, Daddy Bush, um, just told a group of, he was drinking too much on his plane, and the press was on the plane, and they were all talking, and he goes, "Oh yeah, there's an alien there. We saw, I saw him. I saw them. You know, yeah, hell yeah, they're real." And I went over and I saw them over here, and one of the guys left the group like in pure shock, like it just destroyed his world in some way. It rocked his world really hard, and he went back, stepped away from the group, and just come told someone. He just said that yes, they're real, and blah blah blah. I'm like, well. You know, is it? It's not. I don't think it's a secret.
Right.
They, the whole putting the toothpaste back in the tube they did after what happened, I think in Roswell. I get New Mexico confused. All the things that happened over there. It's such a wild place. But when the ship crashed and they found the bodies and pieces of ship everywhere, and there's everyone just reported it for what it was in the moment, and then they kind of backtracked it and scrubbed it all up and put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Right.
Uh, but it's been out all over for a long time. The UFOs over the main Capitol building. It's funny how people use the analogy of ships landing on the White House lawn. Well, they floated over the fucking Capitol building. There's plenty of pictures. You know,
Right.
um,
Well, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just funny
Even have
how
a
we
video on
can't
YouTube. You have a video on YouTube of what I basically, when I looked into it, it was there was supposed to be those slides flying over the Capitol building at night. Was that what, 1952?
Yeah, it was in the
Yeah.
50s.
Yeah, no, the when you go on the UFO Hub Facebook page, the video that's running, one of the videos is that where you see them flying over the Capitol
Yeah,
building.
that is one of the most important videos that exist, and thank God we still have it. Joe Rogan shows it a lot, and because back then you could really just say what it was. Uh, they've been doing it forever, and then all
Right.
of a sudden, someone decides, oh well, maybe we're just gonna keep this technology and do something different instead.
Right.
We've got to do the capitalism thing where we stretch out every bit of profit as slow as possible and really drain every last dime out of this bitch until it's done.
Right. Hey,
I think
Crypto, just
that's
real quick. Paulie also raised his hand, wanted to speak. So
sure.
if you don't mind, I want you to finish up with your last point, and I would like to also give Paulie a chance as well.
Okay, cool. Well, no, I liked what he said afterwards last time. I agreed that what he said, that everyone has their own way into, where we're at. And it just had me thinking of all the different ways that could, and like how many ways I forgot to mention. So like that was pretty cool. I'll let Polly bring it on.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, when Paulie and I are done, if you're still on, I'll get back to you unless there's someone else that would log in and ask some questions. But yeah,
Sure.
we're basically everyone else watching. We're basically just chilling online and calling in to share your stories, whether it be UFO, metaphysical, spiritual, cryptids related, anything you like. And so let me get to Paulie and unmute him. Paulie, you're unmuted on my end. If you can unmute yourself, and you'll be good to
Hey
go.
everybody.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. This is a useful group because some of us have unusual questions, and if you go around life bringing up these topics, people look at you funny, even your
Right.
friends. So glad everybody comes together. And last week I asked a question about channeling, and you had a pretty good response. And then someone was inspired to come in, and she shared her story, and it was pretty. It was very interesting, and I'm glad that happened. So I'm gonna ask
Oh yeah, that
a
was
random question.
yeah, that was Blue
What's
Omni.
that?
I don't know if she would be in. She was early in touch with me, and we'll see if she'll come on and speak some more as well. Again, this is the platform for that. So, but anyway, you have the platform now, so go ahead, Paulie.
Sure. So I don't want to steer the conversation into psychedelics, so I'll keep the details
Anything's
out. But
open, whatever you like to talk
yeah,
about.
I had I did I did a I had a weekend ceremony, and it was with people that are into these things in a controlled environment, and it was pretty powerful. And I don't know much about pyramids, but in my visions, pyramids, ancient Egypt type stuff keeps coming in, and it's not something that I think about very much, but it just keeps showing up. And when I asked other people that had participated, hey, do you see any pyramids, stuff like that? It's a common thing. And after that, I started looking around society, and I see symbols everywhere. Even if you look at the back of the dollar bill, which one could consider the most important document we have in this country,
Hmm.
there's a pyramid with an eyeball at the top. And we don't have any pyramids in this country, but it's printed there, and it's right there. And the eyeball, the pyramid, that's what I kept seeing. So I think there might be some powerful consciousness. I don't know if it's interdimensional, if it's coming from the stars, but it kept beaming into my head in full visions, 360 color. And I don't know if anybody else has stories like that. I'd like to hear about it. If not, well, maybe that's just for me. So thanks.
Right. Well, I just because of the subject that you had that you brought up, because I do have. Let me see if I can switch it over. And I don't know if you're watching also online, but I'll reiterate in words to explain. I have my friend Nathan and Rick. Not too long ago, we got together and we basically were sharing our stories. And if you're especially regarding the pyramid itself and looking at the dollar bill, there was something that actually came up in a segment of this here. So it's actually called "What Are Psychedelic Experiences Like?" And you can find that on the uploads. You'll see a thumbnail of you should see a
Yeah,
thumbnail
I
of.
watched, I think, maybe the first hour of it, and then maybe
Okay,
I didn't get that.
did you get to that?
So
Okay, you didn't.
I did. Now I'll go revisit it. And
Right. Well, no,
have
I
you
mean,
seen something like that?
well, the thing is, it was mainly about an understanding. For example, when we were, this was on psilocybin mushrooms, and we kind of went through earlier journey outside and in front of fire, and each one of us had individually certain experiences. Well, after that concluded, we kind of went back inside where it kind of continued for like a second wave. And that was one thing that I don't know why this dollar bill was there, but I was looking at the dollar bill and the pyramid and the one that eye, and I was basically, as I was looking at it, information just basically started coming in, like somebody was telling me, certain things about it. And we just started talking about, because it was like, mentioning the word Illuminati and all that. And it was just made us all laugh because of you know, the idea is that, oh no, the Illuminati control the world. They're going to kill us, and we're being ridiculous, because it was just something fun to think about. But then what I was going through was all this information kind of coming down the pike, and it's basically just the idea that everything is being watched all the time, everywhere on the planet, what's happening. And that doesn't mean that it takes away responsibility of what you as an individual can do, because just because it's being watched, it doesn't mean that things that could potentially harm you, are not going to happen, like car accidents if you're not being, paying attention, or things like we've been talking about just earlier today about what's been going on around the world in general. But the idea was, what I got was that all these people that we call the Illuminati is just literally like it was a general number. It's not exact, but like give or take 300 people that basically are what we would consider those, and they basically run these huge mammoths of industries, shipping, and own these big companies that some of us have heard some of those people, but others we've never heard of. That are basically running a lot in the background, and they all kind of know each other. And we were basically, the whole point was that there's the reason why that was conveyed to me is that there's another group even higher than that, which was, I still can't, I've always say it in the same way, about 6 or 7 of them I could not, kind of the way the information was coming in, I could not understand exactly. It was just more of a feeling and a vision that it's like these beings that we all kind of put in charge to make sure that this experiment we're on and the things that we're doing don't go too crazy to the point to where we entirely destroy ourselves. And so it was just basically, even this group of 300 don't know about these higher. I don't, the way it was conveyed to me, I don't think they're aware of them. And you basically, they just kind of watch to where things don't tilt too far, right? And they're kind of, because of we all as individuals are here to have an experience, it can go crazy pretty quickly. Like, let's say you get somebody, as we're playing this game, it's no different, than a kid coming across, a weapon or a gun or something and do something silly, even though it was meant all innocent. Great drastic changes can occur through, having, let's say, a child and a gun around, or some other sharp objects and a child or somebody that is just very, you know, not with it. It's not aware of their surroundings. And so we're kind of playing a similar game to where we are that child, to where we can easily just, press that button and just have these nukes going off like crazy. That would be one of those crazy things to make sure that that doesn't happen, you know. And so that was basically the gist of that experience for me, was that we can still hurt ourselves, we can still hurt ourselves badly, but not to the like extinction level event. Because of these, because we chosen to basically kind of start playing these games in the way we do, that you as Polly, and the character of Polly, you're going to be living your life and doing what you do, and going about life and having a family or not having a family, whichever. And I go about my life, and every other 8 plus however many billions of people are on the planet now, doing what we do, playing our part. And so are the Illuminati, playing theirs, and we're going back and forth. But this 6 or 7 are basically to just make sure that, shit doesn't hit the fan. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. So that's basically my experience that I've had when it comes to, I guess, not specifically pyramids, but looking at the pyramid, on the dollar bill.
Yeah. And then thanks for answering that. And then I guess this is a interesting thing that I also noticed. So after these experiences, when I'm straight headed, um, you know, either the next day or the same day, and I'm in a big metro area with a lot of activity in the sky, um, in Southern California. But I notice, and I notice it because I will have the sense to look up, and I've I started seeing, and I've seen at least 3 times, and I saw it right after this one. Something that looks unusual, and it's kind of disguised like maybe balloons. And I say the word disguised because it looks like a cluster of balloons, but it doesn't. And there's a gentleman, I think he goes by the name UFO Summoner, and he posts videos on YouTube all the time. He records these things every day, and I thought it was a little silly because they look like balloons. But then in his videos, when you zoom in, unless he's got access to the like top level CGI guys, they're not balloons. So, have you or anybody else seen anything like that? Just something maybe that looked in the sky like a plane or a helicopter or a balloon, but there's something off about it where it didn't look like, it looked like it was disguising itself. And maybe you noticed it, you weren't looking for it, but you just had the sense to look up and you just see it. And I don't know, maybe that's just me, but maybe other people have experiences like that. But thanks for giving me the floor. And anybody has a story like that, that'd be great to chime in. Thanks.
Yeah, no, but are you concluding? You mean we're done with the
Well, that was
conversation? Okay.
that was a question for you because I know
Okay.
people have experiences seeing like orbs. People told me about very clearly spaceship looking things. But
Right.
then I guess I'm asking, has anybody seen something that looks like something that should exist, like either balloon or a plane or a helicopter, but there's something wrong with it, or when they look at it, they might have a slight psychic connection, like it's cloaking itself. And I'm pretty sure I've seen a plane disappear right in front of my eyes twice. And I heard other people say the same thing.
Right.
So stuff like that. So if anybody has any stories like that, I'd be interested in hearing.
Yeah, I'll next people coming in, that want to talk, because I know Argo raised his hand, so I'll get to him next. Yeah, so we'll see if he might say anything about that. If not, I'm sure people in the comments would either, if they care to comment, I'll read it. But yeah, no, for me personally, not during the day, but a lot at night. But it wasn't just like it was very clear that it wasn't just an airplane flying around, so it would be like one particularly, and this was one of the instances. Like years later, I was working late at the office. I walked outside to go to my car, and just out of nowhere I felt like to look up to my left, and there was this huge bright glowing orange ball, and it was quite larger. I mean, maybe double, maybe, or even triple the size of a star. So it was very prevalent in the sky, and it was going very, very slow. So of course my mind, it's like, oh, an airplane. Well, it just literally faded out in the slowest and weirdest way, and just gone. It didn't come up again, didn't do anything. It was just enough for me to see it. It's almost like just letting you know, whatever it was is here, and that's all. I didn't get much more from that. And then there were other instances, but yeah, it's all been at night for me, not during the day.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no, thanks for chiming in, Paulie. I appreciate it. And I'll get to Argo, and when we're done there, if you still want to chat, just raise your hand back up and I'll have you on. Same thing with crypto. So everyone else watching, I'll just be talking to these guys because they called in. If you would like to talk, please join Telegram, join the group, and then you can chat with me and share your stories directly. Okay, let me take care of this. So Argo, you are unmuted on my end. Unmute yourself on yours, and you're good to go.
How you doing?
Just fine. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Just got through eating dinner.
Oh, good deal. I hope it was delicious.
It was steak. But reason why I called in is I like the heading that you had, that the world is in slavery, and thought I might call it and add some of that you maybe cannot elaborate on, as it's your channel, whereas I can.
Well, they'll ban me either way, but maybe if I didn't get to it, please feel free to do so.
Well, I'll just throw the audience two bones, and they can jump down the rabbit hole with this one. If you want to know what kind of organization you live in, look for a man named Jordan Maxwell.
Oh yeah, know him well. I talk to him often. I try to get him on the show too. He just hasn't answered me lately.
Ah, geez, buddy, that's a good one there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's Jordan. A wealth of information. I hope he has a record of everything he's ever done and ever said. That he will leave behind, because I mean, it's amazing.
Well, he understands the true political powers that are at work, not only in our own country, but abroad in many places too, because of what's going on here. So I would say to people, look up Jordan Maxwell. And the other word I would say to look up is Bilderberg Group. I mean, if you want to talk about, those are two completely different places, but they will put you on the same hunt, let's say, the man that was just talking about the things in the sky. So just listening to him there, I would give it maybe a 40% chance that he's a contactee, unless he's admittedly a contactee, because the small vehicles, orbs, moments of where a contactee knows that they're being monitored. Like when you said you walked out of the building and you just, for whatever reason, looked up to the left and right there was the ball.
Right.
Now, that could have been because in the previous 5 minutes, there may have been someone from the alien Civ within close proximity of you. They may have said, hey, we're going to go get a cheeseburger in a minute. Who knows what they said,
Right.
but your subconscious may have known that they were, they're here somewhere, even though you weren't walking out the building going, oh, something weird has happened. I got to look for them. But your subconscious knew that when you walked out, you might want to look up. And you did. And there it was.
Right.
And those incidences happened.
Sort of like a slight confirmation of something happened. You might not remember, but know it happened.
Exactly. And it happens in such a way sometimes that it almost seems as though they want you to see them for that millisecond. They want you to know they were there because they can be completely invisible. And that may sound crazy to some people, but that's a fact. They can be completely invisible. They can move around us invisibly. Their ships can be invisible. So why would they choose a moment to actually show a particular person anything? Well, those incidences seem to always happen with contactees. It's very rarely that someone who's not a contactee gets to see that. That's why when he said that he's seen these other things and he lives in California, I would wonder whether or not he lives up on a hill and is overlooking a valley.
Right.
Because I know plenty of incidences where a neighbor can literally watch a person's ongoing contact for years at a time.
Right.
And never have nothing to do with it, but they're in such a vantage point where people who may live right next door looking into the sky see absolutely nothing. It's dark. There's nothing. But someone a quarter mile or a mile and a quarter away with, say, a height elevation may see a bright light right above the house. Their technology can never be questioned because there's too many incidents of them doing incredible things. So could they do this? Yes, I absolutely believe they could do this. And there's too many, anecdotal stories of things like this happening. So maybe he's a contactee. Maybe that he's just been able to catch moments that are just precursory to an event or just post-event. And subconsciously, he saw these things up there, just turned to look, saw them at the right moment. I'd like to ask you a question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I would have a million, but I actually have some questions I'd like to ask you. So in the past, let's say 2 years, do you feel like your contact is remained steady? It has ramped up some, or that it has fallen off?
No, for me, it's because it was funny. I was talking to my wife, and just not off air, not as a secret, but just as day goes on, you talk about many different subjects, and it was.
Yeah. Me and my wife do too.
Right. No, it was planned very much that for to happen what had happened. Me, basically, my life changing or turning into full 180, because the last experiences, the last things that basically concluded with that kind of gave me like this. Like I said, this toolkit that just said, okay,
direction.
All that you need to know is you've gotten this so far, take this and go with it, right? That concluded in like late 2015. And then after that, it was literally, I went from single guy living in the woods to now 7 years later, I'm married, moved, still live in the woods, but 3 children, and my life is entirely different. Yeah. And so just recently though, I've gotten to a point to where it feels like it's happening again. I don't know where it's going. Of course, I'll let you know. I mean, everyone else also watching, if and when something comes out about it, what I've learned, what happened, of course. And everyone always, forgets about this, that, I do video. Do not think for 1 second that I don't have my phone with me in high quality or camera or something with me. It's just, it is literally impossible to record some of the experiences that I had, because like my body would would shut down, and I can try to will,
That's
you know,
correct.
my arms all I want, but it doesn't work,
Doesn't
you know,
happen.
because right,
Yeah.
because some things are just meant to occur, happen, convey information, move on, you know, because so many excuses, I mean, not excuses, so many things that people bring up, they're always like, where's your camera? You know, why don't you record this? Why don't you do this? I was like, you know what? Next time when this happens to you, why don't you then try to do what I've been trying to do all these years, and then come back and talk to me? You know, as
You
if
know,
as if I wouldn't think to have something with me to record, or,
right,
you know, whatever.
right.
You know, it's like, it's literally impossible. It's not like, oh, maybe
That
if I
person who
try
says
harder.
that, Adnan,
Uh,
that person who says that though has really truly not done the legwork to get deep enough inside the subject to know that that's just literally not an option. It's
right.
just not an option. Um, People set up cameras through their houses, looking all around, and you know Whitley Strieber says that they know his code. They just come and beep 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 beep, shut stuff up, come get him.
Right.
You know.
Right.
You know, so what do? You know, you ain't gonna take a picture or something. They're like, oh no, there'll be nothing. You know, so yeah, I don't hold any abductee against the grain of evidence that what can they produce. Literally, I've done this for so many decades. I can speak to someone for about half an hour and tell whether or not that they're faking me, or
Hmm.
if they're real, or if they're just a little bonkers. You know.
Right. You know,
You know.
that's you know, you actually hit on a really good point regarding that, you know, the just a little bunkers, because some of my this is, you know, not an out of body experience, but I mean technically it was, but this is related, and I want to make this differentiation because so people are so anal about knowing exactly, was it like this, was it like that, or so and so. So this was a psychedelic experience, and it basically, it was confirming, because remember, my experiences started trying to figure out if Bashar is full of shit or not, right? And so I was following up on all the teachings, all the things he was saying, and so I was learning and applying physically what he was, you know, conveying throughout all these years, right? And so one of them, what I've learned a long time ago, he was talking about people that we call mentally handicapped or retarded in general. It would be people that the soul is not fully fully here, you know, it's not fully partaking in this reality, so they're only using the body for certain things. You know, it's almost like if you trying to
Kind of
watch a movie,
symbiosis in a way.
it's like, yeah, it's like trying to watch a movie but you only see like every 10th frame. And so it's a movie, you can kind of generally see it's something is happening, but within 10 frames you can, some things can be taken out of context, right? So
Right.
when the soul is not entirely you know, here, you know, to partake, it's, you know, speech gets affected, the way you behave and
Yep.
move your bodies, you know, affected. And so
Yep.
basically what was so weird is that on the other side, during this one particular psychedelic experience, I could see that happening. You know, how these people, it's basically
It's a
they,
disconnect. The disconnect happening.
it's a disconnect, but it's basically like, but it's just done. This is the part that was really amazing. All those things, it requires a very strong, energetically a strong soul to do something like that, because it knows what challenges would occur. It knows how difficult the world would be being in that state.
That line.
And it requires a strong soul to still say, yes, I want to, you know, go ahead and, you know, continue with, you know, being born as this and having these challenges, you know. And so it was actually the opposite, you know, it was the strongest soul choose that way, you know, and it's actually teaches us more, you know, than it really would teach them, you know.
Humility,
Say that
morality,
again.
humanity.
Right, correct.
Maybe it teaches us all of those things.
Right, and general things like judgment, you know, and all these other things, you know, and just I think, I mean, remembering, like, I was more, you know, teenager in the 90s, so you know, compared to that time and knowing and remembering what the outlook was for handicapped people, mentally or otherwise, and compared to now, I mean, it has gone and advanced drastically, so of
Yes.
course we're not exactly dealing with the same, jackasses like we did in the 90s, but the point here is that, we're, you know, when somebody, anyway, the point I'm trying to get at and why I brought it up, I'm always very trying to be tentative to when somebody starts talking and they start saying certain things and then they just go say something where I just go like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me, because I am respectful of what they're telling me, but at the same time, I can't fully play their game either. So
Right.
I'm then
I'm
asking them,
right there with you on that one.
right. So then I just, as politely as I can, just say, listen, I understand. Thank you. What you're saying, I can't relate to, and nor do I believe it. And so I'm sorry, I'm going to have to,
Can I tell you a little story about that?
yeah, sure.
Okay. I have a friend in Australia, and he is absolutely 100% a contactee. There's absolutely no doubt. I have pictures of rods and lights and crafts and all sorts of stuff, right? It's just, it's absolutely apparent. We're good friends, you know? We talk all the time. And there's this major rift between us, and I always tell him, "Don't tell me that shit. I don't want to hear it. It's not real." And he always tells me it's totally real. And here's the problem: the aliens don't want us to know in full or in any great way what they're doing. Now, each individual abductee, without a doubt, at times, probably hundreds of times, that they'll never remember, will ask questions like, why are you doing this? Why is this me? What is this all about? Right?
Right.
So I've asked him to try and pose those questions at him. And now, this is going to sound crazy because it kind of is. But I guess they have him believing that he is part of, and this brings me to a question I'd like to ask you, and then I'll release the floor to whoever. But I do want to ask you a question that's related to what I'm about to tell you now.
Sure.
So he is constantly in the woods looking for Bigfoot and the Bigfoot experience. And I'm going to give you one of my own personal thoughts here, and everybody can do with this what they want, but I've never heard anybody say this, so you heard it here first. Actually, I've actually said it in another public forum too, but here it is. So I think the contactees who see Bigfoot in the forest, who get pictures of him or video of him, or those who have it even further, who live rurally and actually have them around their place a lot. Okay. So he actively looks for these. I think that abductees are kind of immune to the David Paulides 411 experience, let's call it. Okay. And the reason why that is because they are part of the program. Anything in the program is untouchable. Can't mess with the program. So he pushes the boundaries of that all the time. But somehow he thinks that he's now part of the Bigfoot world, that he is part Bigfoot, that he can move to the forest like them, and thinks that sometimes he looks down and sees his hands and his arms and thinks that he looks like a Bigfoot. So in other words, there's hair and stuff like this. Well, we know that that's just not possible. So what that means is that they have found what gives him a joy button response, and they're pushing that button. And I've tried to explain that to him, and it's very hard to explain that to someone, to say, hey, look, you're not getting the real thing, you're getting heroin. And they go, no. They hit the button again, no, it's real, more heroin. It's hard to tell someone when they have them wrapped inside their world. It's just nearly impossible. And so far, I'm not succeeding. And I've been trying for about 6 months now, And so that kind of brings me to the next question I wanted to ask you. As you say, you live rurally or in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have cryptid experiences around your place?
No, personally, I have not, but I always welcome it. I mean, just the second I step outside the studio, it's pitch black and thick woods, and because over the years I've always kind of understood what state of mind to be in, and so I always am, or would like to think I am, in that open state of mind that if something happens or tragic gets my attention, it would not be very difficult to, and
Right.
but here's one other thing
Like when
though.
I go to the woods.
Right. But regarding that, what your friend is experiencing, this brain is designed to operate, in a certain way. And most of us, when we're born, we come out the same way, so we can relate. It's like, oh, I know my limits. I recognize your limits. Okay, we're alike, right? And so going back to what I was saying earlier about certain people, I've had some experiences to where we're talking about patterns and certain things that, based on how much you keep exposing your brain, you rewire it in a sense to where now you can perceive more than what you did before, and so
True. That's
certain
like going to school and learning in books. You get better
correct,
and better at it
correct,
because you start training your brain
right,
at it.
and so
Whatever you set
certain
out to do, you get
right.
better at it.
Well, certain things, for example, that can explain between contactees where they say, like, I saw the ship and there were five people around me and couldn't see it. That's part of that frequency that you're basically were constantly exposing your brain to, and now your brain can easily tune into it where someone else is just like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy.
I
You know,
completely disagree there, Adnan. I completely disagree.
in which way?
I complete with that whole thesis of the way that works right there, and I'll give you my idea of what that is, and who knows, you're a contactee, so I'm going to give you 60%. You're right, but I don't feel that's what it is. This
Right.
is
Let
what
me
I'm
let me
feeling.
finish this point real quick. Well, the only reason why I
Okay,
say,
go ahead.
because I'm like to think that I'm still have, both feet on this earth and planet, so that, I'm not going full wacko out there, to where people can't relate to me, entirely. Because like I was mentioning earlier, sometimes those gaps between normal and what's absolutely fucked up and weird are
Mhm.
so vast that it's difficult to bridge the gap. So I have to
Yeah,
continue being as normal as I possibly can, speaking normal words and leading people into a certain way to where they can hopefully finally see that where I'm coming from
that's a
this
great approach.
right huge thing. But so I'm saying is I'm not, I never forget that, because that's why, what I was saying earlier, I wouldn't have believed this myself until I had my own experiences realizing how much I was changed. Because when it comes to certain things like catching happenings, and synchronicity happens a lot easier. Most people are not trained to do that. We need something stronger. Most people are only familiar with like 1111 or 911 or 222 or 11, or whatever.
Yeah,
There, something that obvious, and they would speak and say something and then look, and it's that time. Kind of like a confirmation of, yeah, you're right, going into the direction you're trying to go, or you're right about whatever it is you're talking about, right? Kind of like
right.
a affirmation. Those are the things for the quote unquote normal people. But when you've been exposed to so many different things, your brain becomes a lot more sensitive, to a point to where if you're not careful, you can go bonkers quick. Because then I can just be no, I mean, I'm being serious, because if I'm wanting to still relate to the normal people, I have to, then still know and think and move the way they do, because then I'll be talking about the things
Yeah,
that I see and talking about the things that I understand. And then if I only switch to that entirely, I can't relate. They can't relate to me, and they say, you crazy, bye,
yep,
you know?
yep,
And so anyway, that's
yep.
so I'm finishing this
I
point.
see
So
that
if you don't
happen
believe me, I
a
don't
lot.
understand. I understand. So, but please continue. What was the disagreement that you were
So,
wanting to bring up?
so I think after studying many cases, big and small, where people go from just seeing an object in a group, or either one person or all of them see it, to one person sees it and there's an abduction event and only they're taken, to only one person sees it, there's an abduction event and everybody's taken. Just all the numerous different ways that I have been able to intake over the years. I mean, I'm just nearly sure I'm right. So all abductees have tech in them. They just all do.
Say it
There's
again.
several
I'm sorry.
doctors
Oh
with
wait,
me.
all up to you. What? What was the word?
Have tech in them. Tech, you know?
TECH?
Yeah, tech.
Oh,
Right.
okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, have tech in them. You know, you look at an orb. I've seen orbs the size of marbles, and they move in anti-gravity mode. That is truly microscopic engineering. That is more impressive to me than the Omni picture of the Phobos 2, 3 kilometer long and a kilometer thick giant UFO by Mars. That's completely unimpressive to an orb the size of a marble, completely defying gravity and flying off at 1,000,000 miles an hour. That is impressive. So each abductee has tech in them. We know it. Whitley talks about his ear getting hot, the thing in his ear, and my buddy in Australia talks about his, and Terry Lovelace had one that seemed to be like more advanced than most people's, in his leg, going down his bone and stuff. And it was such a big deal that they removed it before he could even get, anybody to get it out of him, like the day before the surgery. So it's my guess, my informed guess, that it is literally just a piece of tech that's in you. And for whatever reason, Admiral, let's say you're standing amongst 4 friends, if none of the 4 of them are abductees, and even if one of them is or all of them are, if they decide you're going to see them, you're going to see them. I know a man who lived outside of Atlanta, come out of his house to go to work, saw a UFO the size of the city, above the city, shocked out of his mind, called somebody in an abductee support group that he knew on the other side of the city, said, and the guy was a night worker, told him, he finally got to answer the phone. He's still standing in his driveway. He says, holy moly, man, you got to walk outside and look at this. Well, so after some argument, he walks outside. He says, holy moly, I see it too, right? So they're thinking it's going to be blazing all over the news. They're both seeing it. They're like, I don't know, 12, 18 miles, I think 18 miles apart. They're both seeing it. He goes back inside to see if he hangs up and goes back inside to see if news says anything, but nothing. Nothing. There's nothing. He goes ahead, drives on to work. He's almost to work, and literally at a 4-way stop sign in the middle of Atlanta now, there's a UFO above the light, above the street light. And he's looking around people in the car like, really? Is like, I'm the only one seeing this? And he was the only one seeing it. But if they want to do that, that's what they do. Why? I don't think we'll ever know. But there are thousands upon thousands of incidences through the lore over the past 5 decades where they can show themselves to 100 or they can show themselves to 1. And it would be my guess that in small groups like that, while there's 4 or 5 people standing around, if one person says it's right there, no one sees it, it's probably because they are the contactee, and the UFO is within, let's say, an AOE. It's activated the tech that the person has in their body, and for that moment, they're able to see it for a second.
Are you talking about only those that have some tech in them, or are you talking about that your assumption is that everyone will have some tech in it?
No, only abductees will have the other civilizations' tech in them. Okay, so I'm not saying that alien tech is in anybody else except abductees, and then that would give them the ability in whatever moments to have this happen. So we know that when someone comes on board, let's say on Monday, okay, and they're kept on board for, say, an hour, and they're taught to do something. If they come back then Tuesday, and then Wednesday, let's say they skip Thursday and they skip Friday, and they come back again then Saturday. On Saturday, the aliens may actually have a harder time controlling the abductee at this point. And it seems to be that being in their control, that the third eye, I guess, your mental prowess is strengthened, is fortified. And abductees are able to say, no, I will not go over there and push that button. No, I will not go over there and tell this lady it's okay just to calm down. And it will take a being with greater mental capacity to then overwhelm the person and then put them back in the compliant state to where they're walking around doing what they're told to do. So back to the tech, it would be my guess, it's my informed guess, that when 5 people are standing in a group, one of them is an abductee, the other 4 are not. The abductee is the one who sees the orb. or the UFO, the craft, whatever it is.
Right. Well, Argo, I can definitely see, analytically and what I'm looking for. It's escaping me right now. Like research wise, if you're looking up things and reading up on stuff, and especially like in the beginning I often talk about reading David Jacobs books, and
I read
kind of
everyone.
right, starting out in that very negative, way. I had my own thoughts. I was like, well, why didn't you just do this? I would have just done that. I would have, so and so. And a lot of times, depending on who's using the implants, right? And that's what you're referring to when you say tech, right?
Yes.
Okay. Depends on, which different race. What I was personally able to you know kind of like experience was when it comes to certain things, right? For example, like cameras taking pictures. So, for example, and this is no joke, this image right here on this cup, I'm not promoting it. I'm just saying it's there for a reason. I don't do anything by accident.
Right.
I was driving down this main
You're a bright
road.
guy, I know, and
The
everyone
what?
knows it. You're a bright guy, and everyone knows it, bro.
Thank you. I
You
don't know
know.
what you mean. You mean like that I'm
Well,
not
I am not a subscriber to many people's hokey wokey. Like, you know, I can consume certain people and know that within the first chapter or two that they are completely silly, or watch them for an hour and know they're completely silly. You're one of the
right.
few people that I always enjoy watching because you approach things intelligently. You're not grandiose about your ideas, or nothing you really say is completely unfounded. You speak personally about things when you want to abstract from what the public thinks and what you've dealt with yourself.
Right.
I think you're a smart guy, and I think that all researchers out there who know you know you're a bright guy. You're a good guy. You're one of the good ones.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Honestly,
Sure.
sometimes I know it sounds silly. You said that earlier before the show started, since a couple of the guys and I start the voice chat earlier, and they were saying something similar, and I was telling them, I do appreciate it in the sense that because all of you happen to watch one source, but I'm watching every other source that watches me. So I get all those
Me
emails
too.
about that are just negative as you can possibly be,
Yeah,
about
I'll bet.
why did I do
I'll
this?
bet.
I'm not
Mm.
doing justice to the, to the field of ufology,
Why do
and
you
it
have
just
that person on? Why did you let
right.
them say that?
Right. And
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is it's like, again, I have thick skin, but this is greatly appreciated after so much negative, just to hear one good, so thank you. But if I may just quickly finish up regarding, control wise, right?
Yeah.
So I'm driving downtown, I'm going to work, and I'm basically having had a reading, right? Because for a while there, there was nothing happening. I couldn't connect to anyone, whatever. I was like, well, I thought I was being clever. Let me talk to my friend. She's going to do a reading, connect with them for me, and then figure out what's happening, right? And so I had recorded the entire session the night before, and the 50 miles drive to work that I had from Robertsville to St. Louis, I would listen to the reading again, just to hear things that I hear things sometimes differently again when I re-listen to it.
Mhm.
Maybe people do it often. Well, anyway,
Yeah,
so
it's like good reading.
right. So I'm driving, and she basically, I'm listening to myself asking the question. I said, "So when will I have this contact again?" And then she said, "They're telling me in divine time. They're telling me in divine time." Like, it's not that the thing I listened to slowed down, like time where I was at slowed down. Things were literally just slow. And as I was looking up where I'm driving between the
Wow.
buildings, the cloud literally formed into this alien like this. Now, only difference is that it did have a mouth. And
Wow.
I'm looking at it. I'm trying to grab my phone, and I'm literally like moving in slow mo. And I'm like, hurry the fuck up, you know. I'm like, I'm trying to get to it, you know, to activate the camera, and then finally, before it just kind of sped back up to normal time, it was just enough for me to snap a picture as the cloud was, you know, the eyes and the mouth was deforming, to where if the picture that I took, if I showed it to somebody and said, "Look, this was an alien," they would be like, "Okay, buddy, time to go night night," you know. And so so I've never experienced, and that I don't know, that I know of, that I have any implants in me. You know, I'm usually, you know, people are familiar with their bodies, and they would always know, oh wow, I didn't have this lump that I had before, I didn't have this or that. But this was an instant to where it was a this was something that I've only, I think it was like months later. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact time span, but it was months later where I learned that it wasn't just on their end, but it was always also a work of my higher self. That they were on this higher level that I don't, or most of us don't see and understand these interactions. It was happening for that reason, allowing that slowdown, you know. So it wasn't just them being these control mechanism, you know, I will control you because we feel like it. You know, there is a relationship that whatever was happening, it was there to, you know, not just for me to hear it, that this next contact will happen according to divine time, but to also instill it and engrave it in me by showing me something visual, you know. And the whole point was for me to get that. And like I said, no way to record, no way to do anything else. All I can do is make a silly freaking cup, you know, with it on it, to keep reminding myself that this had occurred. Correct, that this had occurred. And so again, you know, I don't know, just some people just have different standards of how and what they want to hear. I mean, just you know, I'm also constantly monitoring other things, and just there was another comment that came through. I guess they were watching something you know, Bradley was channeling about, and they didn't agree with it, and they're like, I'm subbing, you know. I'm like, I can't, you know. The point is, it's like, I said it for the beginning. I said, there's going to be controversial information. Maybe I should have said the way you're receiving this information is also going to be controversial, meaning channeling itself. You know, it's like, don't be too hard on me or the guest. Just take it in. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Maybe next time I'll have another guest that you might like. You know, here we go, FBI agent coming up this Friday. Maybe that's a authentic enough person to their standards that they might come back. But the point here is that you just can't appease everybody, especially if you're ever in a position to where I'm at. It's, you're gonna have to give up trying to appease. I mean, I always try to understand, even to this day. I always try to understand about what's your, you know, come from. You know, what do you mean? Like, what was it that rubbed you the wrong way? What you know, because I thought that's how you grow as a person. You know, you kind of get feedback. But if somebody's just so, you know, so close-minded and just says this can't absolutely happen, because, you know, I feel like that I'm not crazy, you know, and so I can't deny that experience that I had. I can't just say, oh, there was absolutely nothing. There was just nothing, you know, I'm just going to forget about it and never talk about it again. It's like, what kind of human would I be? What kind of human would anybody be if you know, have these really big experiences in your life that are difficult to understand, you know, that you would just, you know, block it out and say, nope, didn't happen. You know, you have a Bigfoot walking right across from you, you know, across your path, like 5 feet away. And you're like, yeah, I didn't see that. You know what I mean? Just, I don't know.
That's not going to happen.
Right. It's like, so I understand, like, crazy shit happens, but I'm trying my best through guests and explanations to be like, hey, let's see if I can bridge that gap.
So when I first started this work, you know, I'll just tell the truth. When I was a young man, I saw Bigfoot. He chased me up a hill after I was done fishing and disappeared under 2 orbs in a tree. And I was this young hillbilly kid, lived out in the woods, you know. I didn't know anything about this stuff, you know. But from that moment on, it set me on a path to consume everything that I could that was about this subject. And I can tell you that this subject is like an ocean. It is full of trash, and it's everywhere. So a person needs to be more like a river, like a mountain river. They need to be wide, take enough in, but very shallow, only deep in areas that make sense. You know, you were talking about Dave Jacobs. Dave Jacobs has a real critical outlook of the way contact is going, the way it's went, and the way it's to come. So Dave Jacobs is actually a student of Bud Hopkins. And I'm sure you know who Bud Hopkins was.
I do. Like, you mean like student, meaning he spent time under his wing? Or because I thought Bud Hopkins, was he a teacher? I thought he was an artist that turned UFO
Yes,
researcher.
that's correct. Yes, he was a New York City artist who had an interest after seeing a UFO when he was young in
Right.
abduction stories, UFO stories, and he was doing this work in the 70s. And based off of some of the stuff that was done with Betty and Barty Hill, the abduction transcripts, he kind of followed them and began doing his own regressions of people, Debbie Cobble and others. And he was the first person that I ever read a book that the book made sense from beginning to end. I went, okay, now this is the way to approach the subject. It's just the facts of what happened, what he said, she said, that type of stuff. It's not someone's personal experience. And of course, all these things are all of his information is derived from hypnosis, which is the only way that, and I'm telling you folks, everybody out there selling a book and a video knows this to be the absolute 100% fact. The only way you get truth out of an alien experience is if they have deemed that you need to know something specifically, or you use abduction or you use regression, because the modus operandi is to lie to you in any way, it's in small or big, whatever it takes to get you to comply and then back out of the ship. So that's when I started taking people like John Mack. John Mack always had a very brighter view of things. He was always willing to give the aliens a chance to say things like, our small, he would go into the science of it sometimes, you know, how many lobes we have and what we use to think with, and we can't possibly know the mind of creatures who can do the things seemingly that they can do. And I agree, right? But going back to Bud Hopkins, so Doc Jacobs was introduced to Bud Hopkins by the guy, the famous guy's kid who helped make Fire in the Sky with Travis. I can't think of his name right now, but he was introduced by him. And so over years and years and years, they collaborated all the time. Like David is the person who said that the first time he ever heard of fetuses being taken out of women, that Bud called him up and said, guess what I heard today? And they, no way, it can't be true. And of course, you know, you progress through the abduction, you know, the regressions for 4 or 5 years, and not only is that not only happening, but a million other things are happening to where that's completely commonplace. Now, Dave, I think, set out a long time ago to find out what I want to know about them, and that is their sociology, because in anything's sociology, you learn what they are. Watch the sociology of a badger. What's the sociology of someone from America? What's the sociology of someone from Britain? Of just human sociology, their sociology. You learn what they are. So I'm always looking to glean what they are doing with us, for us, about us, in a sociological overtone. And that's where he began looking for anything they like. If he was doing a regression, right? And someone said, okay, no, I'm like, you know, now I'm standing on the corner. I've used this before talking to friends. You know, I'm standing on a corner and they're telling me I'm helping people run by and they seem to be getting in a UFO. Now, he hears that once, well, he's doggone tracked in. He's got an event. That's absolutely true, because I mean, it's coming out right here. They're telling her this, what she's supposed to do. So it's obvious of what's going on. So now he's driving after what that is from that point on. And I think that kind of got him in trouble with people, because no one wants to go this is going to be a gross exaggeration. Nobody wants to go to a hypnotist and want to lose the ability to smoke cigarettes, and then when they get home, they find that they can't stop eating pickles because someone stuck. You got to eat pickles from now on, So I think that people were upset with him because during regressions, he would intentionally see if there was any piece of information that would add to his overview. Now, do I think his overview is wrong? Sadly, I don't. I consumed so much in this, it seems to be right in many ways. And he is actually undercited by a long shot, because you have to take many other people's work into account. I've thought about starting my own channel or a workshop here in Springfield, Missouri. And the first thing I would do is I would bring one book to show, I don't care if it's 10 million people. I would bring Forbidden Archaeology. And I would say,
Right.
You need to stand on the glass table, and then you need to pick up this book, which is the hammer, and you need to break that table. And when you land, you read this book, and then you start to understand how many other things will be changed by just knowing these things.
But Argo, can I ask you a quick question? Do you think a lot of times the way you and even I and everyone else disseminates information, that would be pretty much based on what their outlook in life is? Meaning, a lot of us, tend to steer more towards negative information or things that could be potentially negative to us, and we pay more attention to it than like others. So, for example, to use what I was, saying earlier, I mean, just people can get, let's say 1,000 nice comments. That one comment that's negative, they concentrate on it. And it's like, but why? By this, but you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
For example, what I'm saying is, why would you, or do you, you probably are familiar with this, and I think we might have talked about this, been several weeks ago or months now, I can't exactly remember. I think you and I talked about this before, but in the same way that, let's say you'd had an outlook to pay attention to David Jacobs, what and why not, for example, Dolores Cannon and the way she approaches the same subject? Hold on, before we continue, just real quick. I'm sorry. Hold. I saw a comment here earlier about Claudine said, "Can you have Daryl Anka as a guest? It would be interesting to see him channel Bashar." I've never seen Daryl actually channel Bashar when he comes as a guest to a show. I would certainly love to have him on as a guest again, but he never channels Bashar during the interview. And so I don't know why exactly, if that's just something how he handles things. So if I were to ever have him on, and I hope I can get him, I think it would just be Daryl talking and answering questions that all of you might have, or whatever questions I might have. So Claudine, I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry, Argo, please continue.
No. Okay. So your question is do I think that people's outlook skews the way that they research and their intake, their believability for things that are taken in?
Right.
I would say absolutely. Was I a victim of it? Oh yes, for at least 15 years. At least 15 years. I always wanted to think that the aliens were truly here to enlighten us. By the time I was 18 years old, I knew there were cave drawings in France that showed them, just all sorts of little things. So I'm like, hey, they've been here forever. They're our buddies, man. Now, when I was young, I also got into religion. You start reading religion. So you can't help but apply religion against the aliens. I can remember when I was young, I used to say to people, young, I'm going to say below 35.
Right.
I used to say, well, aliens are one of two things, people, period. This is the way it is. Aliens are either the God of the Bible, period, or they are the demons of the Bible, period. But they're only one of the two. Now, that shows you that I skewed it with religion, because the only template I gave that burger to sizzle on was religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a person is looking for them to be sunny and bright and teachers, that's kind of what they find. And if
Right.
people want to find them as world dominating evil entities that run our government, which is not true, then that's what they see. And that's where good research has to be done. You have to be able, as an intelligent human being, say to yourself, is this, say you hear something wrong, is this even possible? Have I even heard it in other literature? Now, I can tell you, you can find all sorts of crazy stuff that's backed up by all sorts of other crazy people, but they're all just wrong. They're just all rowing the same ship. And one of the ways you know is if you're in a ship that says this is going to the truth and they're all on that boat and there's 10 million of them on that boat, guess what? They're probably wrong. Why? Because there's so many of them who think this way or that. Like, I'll tell you one of my major problems with the whole alien abduction experience and aliens did. One of my major problems. They're interdimensional. Holy crap. A person only has to do a little bit of college science, which I peel through textbooks. So, but you only have to do just a little bit of college science, and you can come to pretty quick conclusions of this. If they're interdimensional beings, they don't need spaceships. They're interdimensional beings. If they come from another place that's in an interdimension and they're using a ship, why are they here? We're that interesting, are we? No. An interdimensional being would be able to move completely interdimensionally. He would be able to appear in front of you, poof, and then poof, disappear to wherever he needs. He would not need a UFO ship because he is an interdimensional being.
You mean
Well,
if if they are themselves physically are interdimensional? Because I mean, technically, we could, if and when the future comes up for us to build our ships, we might not be interdimensional, but we could potentially use technology to travel interdimensionally.
Well, and let's do that science for a minute. I'll do that science with you for a minute. Okay, so let's go to interdimensional travel technology. So now you've surpassed being able to leave a solar system. That is absolutely nothing. That's like making a paper airplane now. And moving across the galaxy, yep, that's another paper airplane. Moving across our known universe is probably like throwing a paper airplane. Why? Because you have the science to literally pull yourself into another dimension. Do you start to see how huge this becomes? So if a civilization comes through the other side of a dimension and they bring their tech with them, it'll probably look like the Death Star. It'll probably look like the sun as a Death Star.
Right.
We already have stuff that circles our sun. You can go and find it. Lasco and Soho, SOHO, capitalized. Go look for yourself. There are ships circle our sun, size of our dang planet, bro.
Right.
So
yeah, no, I've seen some of those pictures. It's amazing and like awe-inspiring at the same time. Hold on, one quick second, please. I'm sorry. I just want to tell everyone else that for those that are watching, you can also chat and call in using Telegram. Just download the app and join the group. You'll see a voice chat going on in there right now, and just join. And you can just use Telegram to listen. But if you do want to speak to me, and I don't know, Blue Omni had raised a hand previously, but then it's down again. So I don't know what's happening. But if you do wish to speak to me, simply or just calling to share a story, raise your hand, and that way I know it's like she just did now. So that way I know you are interested to speak instead of just listen as well. But Argo, I wanted to ask you just something real quick.
Sure.
Regarding the don't leave my mind yet. It's escaping my mind. I had it. But in your research, do you believe that there's more than one alien race visiting?
Oh, see, you are an intelligent cat, bro.
I'm not trying to set you up. I'm just asking.
Well, good thing is I don't have a name, so I can't get all that hate mail. So
right.
Here it is. You gave me the football, and I'm going to kick it because it's one of my biggest pet peeves in this today. I don't know how you found it, but here it is. So anybody who does work in this field who finds pieces of real truth, of real interchanges between the alien civ, and ourselves, find consistently that there are basically 5 types of creatures. There are 5. Now there's the gray, who has eyes, fake nose, mouth, and ears. But he doesn't eat, and he don't hear. So, like real informed researchers should be telling everyone, because I do, because I'm responsible, that they are probably a genetic creation, because genetics are one of the most important things to the true alien, and we'll get to him. The gray is the most commonly seen alien. He is the worker drone. He is he who carries out the order. He is he who knows how to use the technology and knows who is the boss. Okay. Mm-hmm. After that, you have a small blue creature, kind of looks like a little troll or something. They're not seen that often, but they are seen sometimes aboard. They can be kind of deep blue, kind of a blue gray, and they just look, they're not a gray. They're just like some kind of little creature, okay? And they are also a worker. They are busy in the business of getting you out of your bed and putting you back in your bed and make sure you get dressed on the UFO and stuff like that. So that's 2. The third creature that's aboard is a reptilian. And yes, there are reptilians. They are real. They have a human form. They have 2 arms and 2 legs, and they have a head, and they have genitalia. And Dr. Jacobs seems to think that this global acquisition that he thinks was happening was done to them previously, because they seem to be a pure species to him. This is just a thought. I'm going to close off the reptilians by saying this. I find it rather suspect that we had hundreds of millions of years where lizards were completely perfected on this planet, and then they were wiped off, and the mammalian form took place. Okay, on to the 4th creature. The 4th creature is you and me and everything. Now, why do they have blue eyes? Why do they have blue hair? I can't answer that. I really can't answer that. I went so far as to learn how blue eyes are actually passed along genetically. So blue eyes have 2 small B's. There is no dominant big B. There is no dominant gene for blue. The only way that a person gets blue eyes is that their parent had small blue, both parents, because each parent only passes on 1 gene. So whoever these people are, their moms and dads have blue eyes. And their moms and dads, because everybody's got blue eyes. And what they always seem to be, from Travis Walton's case to anybody's case, is they just seem to be us. They just seem to be us.
You mean us? You mean human form, or you mean us as the humans that are currently occupying the planet?
I mean the human species. Let's say. Okay. I don't know that the ones that they have are basically the same genetically as we are. I'm sure that they have some augments to them. Right. Kind of the way Sherpas can take in oxygen better at 20,000 feet than the normal human. You know what I mean?
Right. So, Argo, well, let me, the reason why I initially, I'll let you finish up. Let me ask you this question. Please do finish up that original thought too. And then, if you don't mind, I would like to also then give a chance for Blue Omni to speak as well. The reason why I was asking is that these different mindsets, these different, again, I'm calling come-froms. It's something I learned a long time ago from my friend, Michael, and he, calls it the come-from. Basically it's like another way of saying your intention, your mindset, and the different come from matters from person to person, and they're based on what experiences they've had. So if somebody is like overly enthusiastic and positive about UFOs, it's generally that some beings, truly are that way, and so of course your entire picture would be painted in that rosy brush. Whereas if you've had an experience like some of the other abductees that, go to Jacobs and, keep reliving in the experiences that they've had, it would be obviously a negative one, and so of course your perspective would then, change. So that's why I was asking, because I think not one thing can be only attributed to a single alien race. That's my thoughts on that.
Right, man. Okay. So then the fourth being us. It's the blonde guy who came in the glass helmet to wave to Travis Walton, come here, follow me. Took him across the hangar, all the UFOs, through the hallway and into a room. And what was there? A death robot, another gray. No, it was three humans in black clothes who put him in a chair quickly, put something in his mouth, and boom, he was next on a rope.
Right.
So the fourth being would be us. And generally, I'll say us. And the fifth being is, as far as I can tell, and as far as many researchers, a few who will say it and a few who won't, the real alien seems to be the mantoid creature. Which, when I say mantoid creature, I say mantoid because they're like, their limbs are not bug-like. Their head is bug-like, their neck is bug-like, and they are creepy. But they kind of have like an elephant leg in a way. And they are the genetic scientists. They are the ones that have probably made us. It seems to be pretty apparent. They are the ones who probably millennia ago helped man put together civilization, like the fact that, wheat appeared in Turkey, just poof, out of nowhere. Bananas are something you can basically live on bananas and water. There's just certain little things that they probably done over time to show that they've been here, including, mess around with us. We've got it in cave drawings, 100 years old, 100,000 years old. Not to mention we have artifacts that man used that are hundreds of millions of years old. So coming full circle back to your question of, do I think that people's perceptions skew their research and therefore what they find? I do. But you have to take an approach of, what do I want to learn? Do I want to learn good stories about them, or do I just want to learn stories about them that tell what they do? I want to learn stories that tell what they did. That's why I consumed all of Bud Hawkins' work. Just all of it. Every time David Jacobs goes, all of John Mack's work, all of Raymond Fowler's work, just peeling through their books, because in those books, you find actual conversations back and forth between aliens and humans, however small they are. Pick up the thing, go sit down. But they're not somebody saying, I was standing on Olympus and Beelzebub came to me and said, I'm a snake. You know what I mean? It's none of that. It's literally just lay down. No, I don't want to. You must lay down. And then everybody goes quiet. Okay, so what's happening next? He leaned close to me and put his forehead against mine. His eyes are huge. So what happened? He told me to lay down, and I did. Those are moments that are real. That's where you really find out what really goes on. And that's what I want to know. So when Dave Jacobs finds things like these, it'd be my guess that Bud Hawkins, before he died, wrote a book called Sight Unseen. And if you want to know about invisibility and UFOs, and I mean invisibility like in front of you, around you, how they can freeze time, just literally stop people in motion. You have no clue.
Right.
You get turned back on. Go read those books, Sight Unseen. So there's my 5 aliens. That's my 5 creatures with only one alien. The rest of them are all genetic creations, is my guess.
All right. Well, Argo, thank you very much for your insight and sharing your thoughts and information and research. I appreciate it. So
Absolutely.
so let me give Blue Omni a chance also to come on, and I appreciate you chiming in today, and I hope you do in the future as well. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks, Adnan. I definitely will. Everybody have a good night, and sub Adnan if you happen here.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Good night, man.
All right. Good night. All right, let me see here. So to answer some questions, I don't have a limit here. My limit is basically whatever my butt's telling me. If it's if I need some movement, it's been about two hours and 14 minutes of streaming. So anyway, I'd love to then move on to Blue Omni and talk to her some more. And generally, I just usually just go by feeling. If I have to go longer, I go longer. Like I said, there's no limit. It's just if a let's say Argo was the last one and there was no one else that raised their hands, that's when I'd probably just be concluding this and saying, thank you all, have a good day, or no, good night. But no, if there's more people coming in, as long as I can keep going and my legs don't fall asleep and I get to stretch a little, I just keep it going. Maybe I won't overdo it, like, to have like a very long time, like 4 or 5 hours. But definitely want to. I noticed to get to the good stuff, especially in the beginning, it gets slow to start, and then people kind of get going and they start logging in and doing all their stuff. So when I'm really getting tired, that's when everybody wants to come on too. So anyway, so I'll keep it going however long I can, and if it just naturally feels like we're almost done and this is concluding, then I'll end it. But if it keeps going and it's interesting, I might just put the stream on like a little message saying, that we'll be right back so I can use the bathroom, and then we'll continue it. I hope I don't lose anyone when I do that. But anyway, that's just some info since all you guys been chatting about, oh no, is the show going to end? What's happening? So just want to give you a little confirmation. All right, Blue Omni, I've unmuted you on my end. Unmute yourself, and then I should be able to hear you.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing well. I wasn't exactly sure what would take place when I ended up calling in. I was trying to get a feel for the room. I earlier today, like I told you over message, I was really thinking that they would channel messages today or tonight. And for some reason, it's the frequency or vibration is off, and I'm not getting anything right now. But I don't know what that is exactly about. But I just wanted to address somebody's comment in the messages.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, she asked, what is the purpose for contact? And being a contactee all these years, I really think it's to relay information. And that information that's relayed is supposed to help people remember who they are and to dive further into the process of transcendence, ascendance, and emergence. And the ultimate reason for ascendance, a lot of people like to use that word, but we're talking about the same thing, is to create a more loving civilization, an advanced civilization, while it is manifested as a duality. It is to evolve. It's to ultimately travel the stars, just like them. This is my feeling all these years. I wish more people would ask questions, because the channeling thing is always ignited by a thoughtful question that kind of resonates, and you can tell that the person really wants an answer. Um,
Well, Blue
there was
Omni,
another.
can I suggest something real quick? Just a question. I don't know
Sure.
if well, especially when it comes to the chat room and in general, if there are questions that people might have, and if that's works best for you, um, would you mind in collecting some questions and then on your own time channeling the information to and answers to some of them, and then basically call back in with an answer? Or is that something you might not be interested in?
Um, yeah, I mean,
Or do you need it something
sometimes
that's in the moment?
to channel it, uh, a question is asked, and I don't know exactly what the right recipe is, but it's like they'll channel, especially if it's a question that is really something somebody wants to know. Um, are you saying like to call back with an answer, or being in that state, that consciousness state, to be able to uh, channel that the answer to that question?
Well, because I don't know exactly what process you have to go through to get to that information. That's why I was saying I don't know what would be easier for you. Like, let's say somebody in chat would have a question. Would it be easier for you to just write the different questions down and then just kind of channel each question individually, get an answer, and then yes, like let's say next Wednesday or something, call back in with an answer and them anxiously looking forward to what you have to say? Or does it work more in the moment for you to where they can ask it now and you might receive some information?
Well, right now, I don't think the channeling is going to happen. That might be my fault because of the energy. But yeah, I mean, if I can write down the question, and then when I'm in that state, I can come back and channel the answer. Um, so that's a possibility. I'm open to different possibilities of how to get the information out. Um, there was something else I wanted to address. I think that maybe Argo, or I think it was brought up a couple of times. Um, why certain people seem to be contacted and other people are not, or if there's a group of people occupying the same space, why does only one person see a UFO in the sky and the others do not? And I think it comes down to soul agreements, that sometimes certain people are supposed to have experiences because this is their path, their spiritual path, their evolutionary path while being incarnated in this world right now. And so the reason why, hypothetically, somebody else is not going to see something in the sky that maybe one person does is because there's not a soul agreement with the people who cannot see like a UFO or something in the sky at that
Mm-hmm.
moment, because there are universal laws that have to be followed. Um, I get the impression that multidimensional beings, because they're so evolved and so intelligent and beyond human, they follow these guidelines. And does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
uh,
No, I perfectly understand what you're talking about. You know, it would just be I would just be very curious to see, for example, from Argor's point of view, since, you know, he has more of this research mindset, you know, researcher, I should say, mindset, you know, and what his view is on that. No, I perfectly understand. I 100% agree with, you know, with what you're saying. It's just, it depends on from person to person and who understands it in different ways. Because it is more, it's very much spiritual. You know, it's very much, you know, something that we have to get in touch, you know, with our inner being. And you can't generally get people to try to do that or to even agree on that. You know, they just want to stick to the nuts and bolts sometimes, you know, but again, to each their own. Blue Omni, I just wanted, for example, like one question here, and I wanted to mention it earlier. I don't know if you would be interested to go through the chat, or if you know, somehow can collect them. But for example, Claudine, one of the questions she has is, I would like to know if the aliens you are in contact with would be willing to teach us some of their technology.
hmm.
And so maybe that's one of the
That's
questions you can channel on later on. But for example, yeah, that was an example. So she'll, so for those that, this is not an obligation, Blue Omni, at all. I just don't want you to think that you have to. I'm just saying, if those that are interested, please write down your questions. Make sure you use 3 stars, and ask the question after. Claudine, for example, it's a good example of how to put that down. So that way we know it's directly meant for me and the guest as well. And so if you want, you can maybe go through it later and see who was asking which question, and you know, answer those that way. Otherwise, I could just, you know, ask you about general things that you already learned about from your channeling that you've done throughout all this time.
okay. We can try that. Yeah, that'd
Right.
be great.
Okay. Well, so for example, the show started out, you know, in an interesting way. Though I usually don't try always not to go down that route, because I know people always want to hang on to the negative. But have you been able to, you know, channel or receive any information about, you know, what is going on the planet right now? Is it just all in the sense of to help us all to start going within, you know, or is there another a lesson to be learned from what's going on?
Um, I am guessing you are talking particularly about the pandemic.
Yes, correct.
Yes. Um, from what they showed me when it all started coming down, uh, is to basically, I mean, to make this short, but it's actually very complicated, but it's not to succumb to fear. It's all about staying in your power and not succumbing to fear. Because we when human beings become fearful, they get sicker, for instance, because it's all interconnected. When we are stressed out, when we have fear, when we don't know what's going to happen, and things seem very chaotic, it lowers our immune system, and it's it kind of creates a chain reaction, and it actually makes things worse for people who step into the fear. And so I was shown everything's going to be okay. Just stay in your power and do not get caught up in the fear narratives, the fear stories. Remember who you are. I mean, all these years, I think that's another reason why I was able to heal from transverse myelitis, was not identify with the diagnosis and don't get caught up in in fear and focus on it, because it ends up making it more of your reality as you think about what is making you fearful. It becomes stronger and it manifests. Uh, and so this was one thing that I was shown. And, you know, collectively, we are in the middle of a huge spiritual learning session. And what people do is extremely important. I mean, if for instance, I decided I was going to take my power and I was going to get healthier during when everything was locked down and you didn't know what was going to happen, and I became a constant religious meditator, and you have to spread love outward when there are times of stress or small, and that is a huge thing. That actually changes your reality when you decide to choose love over fear, and you choose to remember that everything that happens in life, no matter what it is, no matter what it entails, it is a spiritual lesson, and it is a challenge. I mean, I understand the challenge, because there were times when I was extremely like, oh my God, this is just crazy. What's going on out here? But you have to go within and you have to choose love over fear. And people are fighting or arguing about so many different things. And it's just a big distraction. We have to, does that make sense? I mean, that's
Yeah.
one of the big things that I was shown.
Right. So is there, well, I think a lot of times I know, well, I personally understand, know exactly what you're talking about, but maybe from your perspective, can you maybe for some of those that quite literally need it physically to be spelled out, what that means to choose fear over love? Can you give like some real life practical examples of that?
Of choosing love over fear,
Correct.
or yeah. Um, well, I guess it's important to explain the mentality or the consciousness oscillation that is associated with fear, or and then what is associated with love. The ego is associated with fear, and that's when uh, the human eyes are closed. And then there is love, and the consciousness oscillation associated with love would be the higher self. But the practical thing is um, choosing to help other people who are in the middle of fear, and they think they're going to get sick, and their minds are chaotic, and it's just reaching out and helping them through that fear. That's a practical thing. Calling people up, um, and seeing if they're okay. I mean, I had a couple of friends who have autoimmune disorders, and that's what transverse myelitis is, even though I don't identify with that diagnosis anymore. But they were very fearful that they would be the ones who would succumb if they got sick. And so it's reaching out and talking to them and just helping. Um, there's like carrying on normal life as much as possible. That's another thing. I mean, choosing to do tasks of daily living, even though you may have moments of depression where you don't want to get up, or you don't want to go out to the grocery store and stuff like that. I think things have changed quite a bit since last year. It seems to. It seems to have changed. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but it feels like there's been a turning point where things are returning back to normal slowly. Um, I just kind of lost my train of thought right now. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Do you need some time to remember it, or do you want me to move on with something else until you do remember? Let me see. Do you mind if I unmute Crypto to see if he has a question for you, maybe? If not, I'll put him back on hold to then have another conversation with him later.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Crypto, you unmuted on my end. Unmute yourself on yours, and then I wanted to ask you: were you raising your hand to talk to me about something else, or
Yeah.
did you have something in reference to Blue Omni?
It was kind of maybe she could help. Anyone could. I'm trying to find the name of a documentary. I think it was about life after death. It was in the 80s. It came up randomly when I was driving from Palm Springs to Salt Lake City, and my phone did something weird in the middle and just changed everything that YouTube was recommending. Normally, I have my normal stuff, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just wanted me to look at its other things, and I was just mesmerized by what it was showing me. And one of them was a documentary about a lady's story. So I don't know if I should continue right here or
Well, I mean, because I'm giving the floor to Blue Omni now. I just thought you might have had a question for her since we're talking about
yeah.
her potentially answering questions. But if not, if
Yeah,
you don't
it's
mind, I'll
really
put
not
you
a
on
question.
hold.
So
Okay.
yeah, hold me, and I'll get back to you later.
Okay, good deal. I'll do that. Let me. I just thought you might have had it since you had your hand raised. But yeah, I'll get back to you after Omni and
Sure,
I are
kinda.
done.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. So then there was another question that actually I don't know if you can speak to this too from Middle Child X37B. Interesting username. Asked, do we all have the ability to connect with extra ultra dimensionals? And then the other one is, if yes, can you help me connect?
Well, from what I've been shown and from what I've experienced, is that all of us are, 100% able to connect with multidimensional beings. And this is because we are all actually multidimensional beings ourselves. And what has happened when we are incarnated in duality is that we have amnesia. And so the process that we're all engaged in, that we call spiritual evolution, transcendence, ascendance, emergence, is to remember that we are souls. The soul is multidimensional. Okay. And so you are automatically connected to all of existence, including all solar systems, galaxies, and universes, and ultimately the macrocosmic omniverse, which we refer to as God. So we all have it ingrained in us through our higher self to connect to the wisdom of the soul, and through that you will connect with other interconnected beings in the system. Okay, and for me, what that means is that the beings that I'm in contact with have shown me that they are actually my soul family that I'm interconnected to at a soul level. Okay, and they led me to remember different aspects about my soul's purpose while I'm here on earth, and different things like this, and how you do that. Okay, how you connect to multidimensional beings is through your higher self, and you connect to your higher self through meditation. Okay, practicing meditation. That is the number one thing that they've been showing me all these years is that meditation is extremely important. Okay. And a lot of people have issues going into meditation. That's okay. There's different tools out there, different frequencies you can listen to that can help you achieve uh, a level of meditation. Okay. And that's that's a huge one. I'm getting another question. I'm sorry. Did I answer that question thoroughly?
Well, we'll see what
Okay.
he responds. It was his question. It was question from middle child, so he'll respond in the comments. What other
Okay.
questions were you getting? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's from Claudine G. She said, did you get an MRI? Transverse myelitis may lead to multiple sclerosis or neuromyelitis optica. And the answer to that is yes. When I lost the ability to walk, they did MRIs and all of that stuff. And yes, you are correct about the multiple sclerosis thing, and also the neuromyelitis optica. But again, I was diagnosed with this malady, but I no longer identify with having it any longer. And I was taught that that was an important part of my healing, was to use consciousness to collaborate with them. They were teaching me all of this, and I was able to go beyond what the doctors had been telling me involving that diagnosis.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So, so you were saying, can you explain maybe a little bit about what we chatted about earlier today? You said that the energies were coming in strong, and you felt like you needed to channel, or they had something to channel about. Can you maybe speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. Earlier today, I was getting an intuitive messages saying that they wanted to channel, and it was coming in very strong. When this happens, there is a feeling of agitation, and usually that will lead me to do a recording, and then go into a meditative state where the channel can come through. I'm sorry, there was, okay. So that's what was happening earlier, and I was being told they wanted to channel information. And I honestly don't know what changed from then until now. I don't really know exactly what took place where. I think it might have been also the surprise, because I didn't realize that your stream started at 5 o'clock my time.
Oh, okay.
So I think that might have been, one of the reasons why things kind of got disrupted. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah. Yeah. Because yeah. I mean, I don't know why though. Because well, so you basically logged in at 7, thinking it was a 7 your time.
no, I kind of realized that I got the times mixed up.
Okay.
And then I came on and I was surprised, because I was planning on coming on at 7 my time.
Got it.
So I was kind of surprised by that. And so my planning was kind of off, and I have to deal with, getting dinner for my daughter and stuff like that. And so things kind of were disrupted that way. That might have been another reason for that. better planning, I guess, on my part.
Right.
So I'm
That's
in a
all right. Yeah,
state.
no, I'm Central
Yeah,
Time. I'm in Arkansas, and I guess I would assume you're either in Arizona or California.
yeah, Arizona. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Arizona, was that the state that kind of has like a weird time when it shifts into uh, daylight savings? Like it does it differently.
Yeah, something like that.
It doesn't
Yeah.
shift at the same time that everyone else shifts over. Um,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, but no, just I hope in the future then that helps you, I guess, plan things bit better. I guess then 5 o'clock your time is when I start here. Yeah, no, and yeah, I
Yeah.
don't usually have a limit. It's just like I said, bodies get tired, and it's already been a good, 15 minutes away from 3 hours of just sitting and listening. And I don't mind. It's just, everything
Yeah.
gets taxing after a while because I want to give everyone, the attention that they deserve, and having to follow a conversation and really partake and discuss and give feedback and back and forth. I mean, a lot of time it's
Yeah.
just listening, but even that is, taxing on the mind. Most people don't realize it.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally understandable. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so anyway, what I'm trying to say, I'm still not limited by any time. So whatever else you would like to talk about, we can. Oh, yeah, and middle child, because you were asking if that was adequate answer wise. He says, thank you. Do you recommend any certain meditations, and how long should the session be?
I think that's it depends on what a person has learned about meditation, what resonates with them. Um, I personally use Dr. Jeffrey Thompson's Inner Dance frequency music. It's a theta. It transmits that frequency, the theta waves. I use that, and I was also using that when my first remembered contact experience happened when I was 19. And I recently, well, the last 2 years or so, I went back to him and I started listening to the Inner Dance uh, thing. It's available on Apple, I think, and I really recommend that. And there's this other one that is more intense, and I hope I'm getting this right, but it's called Metatron's Vision, and it's by Fractalverse. And that one is extremely intense. You have to already be kind of in a calm meditative state when you start listening to that. You will have sensory feelings in your body while you listen to this track, and you will see light beings. And the first time I listened to it, I was blown away. So those things are those two tracks I recommend. But there's a lot of good tracks out there that you can use uh, to better your meditation process. And it's by person. It's whatever works for you. I've tried uh, holding crystals, selenite, while I meditate, which I got good results from, but I don't do it all the time. Um, so I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thanks for that. I'm sure he'll give some feedback. Um, let me ask or unmute Paulie, see if he has a question.
Hmm.
Paulie, you're unmuted on my end. Do you have a question, or did you want to speak about
I
something else?
No, I had a question for Blue. Have you ever tried automatic writing, where you go into trance and you just write and then see what's written? Or I think some people maybe type, but do you know anything about that?
Blue, did you hear him?
Yes, am I unmuted? Oh,
Yeah, you were the whole time.
okay. Sorry about that. To answer your question, Polly, um, this process that is now has become voice channeling. It all started for me with automatic writing. And I didn't know exactly what was happening at the time. Um, it started out being scribbles, and then I would start hearing the messages, and then it kind of developed, kind of evolved into directly writing the messages down on paper, handwriting only. And then that was part of the process, and it was very slow. I would have to write really slow. And then finally, it gradually got into automatic writing, typewriting, where I would come across somebody asked a question on a platform, on a post, for instance, and then they would come through the messages, the response, the answer to the question would come through, and I would write it out. And every once in a while, over the years, it would be voice, but it wouldn't come in very strong. However, this year at the end of May, it started coming in really strong, and I started to voice channel. I hope
Okay.
that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you for that. Paulie, did you have another question, or was that it?
That was it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, so Omni, was there anything else that you wanted to share? If not, I wanted to give then Crypto, I guess, another chance to speak. I mean, I don't want to cut you short. If you have more, please continue. Maybe, hopefully, then in the future, you can work out a time for work out a time difference better and figure out what works best for you, and then maybe logging in a bit earlier.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I have to go and tend my daughter. So, but to answer your question, I mean, there's a lot that they want to convey. So yeah, definitely. I would like to come back on next week, and if people have questions, that really ignites the whole process.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, it's open lines in every sense of the word, whether I'm interacting with people or people are interested in what you have to say and they want to ask you. I mean, that's whichever combo works out best to share whatever information needs to be shared. Um, so yeah, no, middle child said yes. You answered my question. Thank you. And I guess maybe just as a last question, um, Claudine was asking who are these light beings, angels? Maybe we can maybe answer that one.
Yes, the light beings are multidimensional beings, and they're high frequency. I am channeling ones that are seventh dimension, and they've told me that humanity has named them angels in the past, especially during ancient times. So they go by very different names, but they're, if that makes any sense, they've been called angels, spirits. They're definitely not aliens. Uh, and that's probably a whole different discussion for later, but they are multidimensional beings. They're beings of light, and they're benevolent.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I don't know if this is for you in general, so I'm just gonna read it out for anyone else watching. So Jody, thank you for the super chat. Said lemon character moving his head from left to right with his mouth wide open and red hearts in his eyes. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Again, still thank you for the super chat. I just don't know what that is in reference to. And then Crypto also, thank you very much for the super chat. Basically, that poor guy has been trying to figure out, says billboard for help finding the documentary mentioned in the chat. Yeah, I don't know which one he's referring to. I hope somebody can help him out, figure out what documentary he saw, and kind of got lost on him. But okay, Omni, well, thank you again. I appreciate you logging in. I hope we can do this again next time. So I'll let you be and tend to your daughter.
Okay.
And I appreciate you logging in for today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, talk to you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, Fab, let me get to you in a second. Crypto Mojito wanted to earlier to say something. Crypto, you're unmuted on my end, and unmute yourself on yours, and then go ahead.
Hello. I was just putting it out there, just looking for this old documentary. I
Right.
forgot that was one thing I wanted to mention when I for open lines tonight. I was just needing some help with something, but if I don't find it, or if it comes, 4 months from now, someone comes across it and knows exactly what I'm
Right.
talking about,
I
then
get
I just wanted
sometimes
to put it
like
out
I get
there.
in the same bind like you are, and sometimes what helps me is like I would write out a sentence of what's happening in it and then type in like something happened, this and that, and then film, or in your case would be documentary, and see what might come back.
Yes.
Just a
Yes, I
suggestion.
did, and
Okay.
I trust the process. It will come back at me, as Abraham Hicks says, consider
Yeah.
it done.
Good deal.
And so have a good night, guys.
Yeah, have a good night.
I think
Thanks.
Fab is next.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for chiming in.
Uh,
Okay, can't use my keyboard today. There we go. Fab, you are unmuted on my end. Unmute yourself and please go ahead. Hello? Fab, can you hear me? I can't hear anything. I'm sorry, nothing is coming through, and you're not muted on my end either.
Can you hear me now?
Faintly, very barely.
Barely. Okay, let's try something else. How about now? Better?
Yeah, getting there. If you can just speak up a little bit, that'll be great. You sound distant.
Yes, I'm very, very far away indeed. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Okay, good one.
What time is it there, first of all? Because you're in France. Is it like 5?
It's like, yeah, it's about 5 a.m., and it's been going a long time for you as well. You're close to 3 hours, so
That's all right.
So I was wondering, your poor head must be like just about boiling now. It would for me.
Right. Well, I don't know. I guess I'll maybe just practice makes better. I don't know. So
Yeah,
what do you have on your mind? How are you doing?
Yeah, there was just a little follow through with what Blue Omni was saying, and maybe we can touch on it next time. It's regarding the fear factor that she mentioned, via this vaccine on a few changes. I also get info fairly similar from what she's getting, and what my info stipulates is we do have a problem. It's probably as well one of the biggest fear factor that people are subdued to, and it's quite simply overpopulation. Right, it stretches our resources. It stretches a lot of things, and it creates a lot of divide as well. And the fear factor seems to be coming from that quite a lot. So via her own information, I was just wondering if she was getting the same kind of info as well. If through her own information, if it was mentioned that the vaccine was actually implanted via a DNA or RNA restructuration to actually lessen the birth rates. Okay.
That'll be an
So
interesting
this
question
way,
to ask her. I could ask her that. If you put that question down, I could also write to her directly and see if she would come back with the channeled information regarding it.
just to see if the channel I'm getting, she's getting the same. It
Sure.
would be quite interesting.
Well, yeah, no, Fab, that's a good question. Like, do you mind kind of just talking a little bit, like, what is the French people's general mindset? I mean, I know you can't speak for the entire country of France, but, generally around you, neighbors and, just TV and news and all of that, what is the mindset regarding these vaccines? Whether the passport or the requirements, mandates?
Well, the main point of view that we are getting over here is quite simple. We're just going to have to get vaccinated. Otherwise, life is going to be very complicated for you. Right. So they're not saying you must get vaccinated, right? Although they are pushing it quite a lot through media, through a lot of things, right? Because we've had quite a few protests. We've had quite a few people against that. However, if you don't get vaccinated, well, there'll be certain jobs that you can't do. You can't go to the restaurant. You can't go to the pub. You can't go to the cinema. You can't go to shopping malls. There's a lot of things that you can't do. So, yeah, okay, you don't have to get vaccinated if you don't want to. But behind all that, your life is extremely limited.
Well, it's kind of it's hard. It's hard to leave it as a free choice if you got kind of for some people. If let's say if you're a social person, not being able to go out, that's like holding a gun to your head.
That's it. Yeah.
So, but what is so? Is it so? Are people generally okay with that, or are they resisting it? That type of requirement.
You've got three clans. Basically, you've got the pro-vaccine, that say yes, everybody must get vaccinated, because if you're not vaccinated, then I will become sick because of you. Therefore, your free will puts in jeopardy my free will to be healthy. Right? You've got on the other scale the other people that are going, no, this is my freedom. Right? You can push me to apply certain vaccine. Actually, we've got laws against that. They are changing, and you've got the vast majority that are in the middle, and they've been pushed into the situation that, okay, well, let's get vaccinated and get on with it.
Right? Okay. So where do you stand, if you don't mind me asking? If you don't want to answer, I understand.
Tell me.
I was saying, where do you stand, if you don't mind me asking? If not, if you don't want to answer, I understand.
Well, right now I am in position that I don't have to get vaccinated, right? I've got someone very close to me that is actually a doctor that says, due to my medical condition, I should get vaccinated, all right? Personally, I think I will get vaccinated later, but I'm going to be waiting for a vaccine which is a bit more performant as the one that we've got now. So I'm waiting a few months for the next generation of vaccine.
Okay. So what else? What else is on your mind, Fab?
Well, no, that was it. Basically, it's getting pretty late, so I just wanted to.
Don't tell me you're going to bed now at 5 a.m.
No, it's too late now. It's too late. I will find something to do. Maybe some housework. It's well needed over here. And,
quick question: why are you a night owl?
Well, right now I'm actually off sick work, I've been sick for about 5 months, and
Oh wow,
so
that's a long time.
I am in. Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah, and but getting better. And I am in a position to basically to find time to be off the line here, the hour time of France or Europe, and spend the time to check out a few things such as UFO Hub to see what's going on. And UFO
Well,
Hub
thank you
is
for that.
definitely my favorite by far, by far. So that's it, you know.
All
And
right.
it gives me time, you know. It gives me time to do some research, etc. You know, as you know, I've been a contactee for a long time, but it's sort of quietened down for the last 5-6 years. And since I'm getting a bit older now, and my health is not getting better, let's put it this way. So I've decided to sort of give it a good push, you know, and then restructurize a few issues. Although I've been a contactee for about 50 years, you know, it's been periods, but what has been happening, you know, it's been like 5 years at a time. Then after that, I get a break for a few years, and then after that, I get quite a few things going on for 2 years, and then after that, it gets a bit too much, so they kind of relax on me. But over the last, let's say, year and a half, you know, things have been resurfacing quite a lot.
Right.
So that's it, yeah. And I do find your hub, you know, listening to people, listening to yourself, a few points of view, very refreshing and quite open-minded most of the time. And yeah, that's it, really, you know.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, I'm just amazed that, man, I mean, when do you go to sleep? I'm just curious because it has to be like a night owl thing. Because usually my body really, which is right about now, is when I'm usually going to go to bed because of the early day next day. So my body kind of starts getting into the shutdown mode. But like, how do you stay up? Is it just over time? You just keep retraining your body and then you stay up all night and then sleep during the day?
I sleep between 5 and 10 hours per week.
5 and 10 hours per week?
Per week, yes. I will get 2 or 3 times that I get 2 hours and a half maximum of a proper sleep. Otherwise, I sleep. I do little
How are you
cat naps
functioning?
of,
I hope there's not going to be like long-term health effects of not getting enough sleep.
Oh, it's been like that for years and years and years and years.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's too cumbersome for you to do that. I just basically, for my point of view, knowing how important and desired sleep is, to just imagine to only do that amount per week is insane almost. It's like I would think it would drive
Sleep
me
is a
nuts.
luxury.
Sleep is a
Sleep
what?
is a luxury.
Oh wow.
Sleep is a luxury. Once you have it, you don't know it, and once you don't have it anymore, you realize how important it is. However, you find the ways, you manage, etc. You know, I do quite a lot of meditation as well. I have a lot of personal time as well. If I'm
Right.
not working, which I can resource myself also. You have to be fairly careful about what you're eating as well, and don't get into excesses. And surprisingly enough, you can survive, you know, and still more or less functioning.
Wow. So I mean, doctors told you you'll be fine. Like, just keep doing what you're doing, or did they have any concerns?
No, they have concerns. I've been prescribed a few times some sleeping pills, but unfortunately, sleeping pills for me, they put me into sleep apnea. That means that I forget to to breathe.
Oh wow.
To
Okay.
breathe. So
Right.
I remember my ex-wife.
I think
Basically, you
breathing
know,
is more important than sleeping.
that's it. That's it. And I remember my ex-wife a couple of times, you know, like trying to shake me and wake me up quite strongly. You know, I
Right.
finally get there, and then eventually she goes, "Listen, I was about to ring the hospital because you've stopped breathing for about 2 or 3 minutes." So sleeping pills is not very good for me. No,
Right,
but
right.
that's what you call a sleep apnea. You forget to breathe, and then
Yeah.
after that, poof, you just wake up again, and then you breathe, and then you go, oh,
Right.
yeah, okay.
Well, at least here in America, I can safely say the condition is very well known. It's just that a lot of people here in America get sleep apnea because they're too fat. So at least your condition is medically induced. It's like, yeah, man, it's I don't know how you do it. Well, thanks for tuning in though, and I hope you keep on trucking
Not a
and doing
problem.
what you got to do.
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine, the best I can, the best I can. But yes, there was the little point of view, little idea, that has been shared with my contact. It could well be that this little vaccine is one way of solving a little overpopulation problem without creating too much problems.
Right. I mean, but you would, if it turns out to be more of a population control type vaccine, you would be against that,
Yeah.
right? Or you,
Personally, I don't. It pains me. It actually pains me to take into consideration that a lot of people, if this is the case, of course, I'm not saying it is. If it is this situation, that quite a lot of people will not have the opportunity to have a child. A little bit like it has been happening in China for quite a few years. They've actually dropped that way of having family of only one child per
right,
family.
one child policy, yeah.
That's right. This is not valid anymore for them, right?
Well, they
So
had to, they
is,
changed it because there's something, called the economy and future generations, because they realize they're quickly, running out of the productive base, because
yes,
economically there's a certain level of and ratio between children, young and able population, and elderly. And
that's right.
Japan is like very wide on the elderly range, and China is getting there. US, they'll still be a few years out before they get to that point, and that's when you get in trouble, where you basically have more older people than young and able to continue the system in general. So you got to keep that
Yes,
in mind too.
yes, and they also have the ratio male and female, which is out of balance.
Right, because of a cultural thing, right? Is that what you're referring to?
That's right. Yes, they would prefer to have a male child rather than a female child. So as far as the population is concerned, there's too many men, not enough female.
Right, right. Yeah,
That has
because
become a
it's
concern as well.
right. Because I guess it's the same thing like most cultures have, where it's the male heir that continues the family name. So I believe that's why they
That's it.
chose. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yes,
sad.
yes.
Sad that
So that's it. Who am I, frankly, to judge? Is this a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I am not a sociologue. I am not privy in the high government decision. Obviously, if this has been decided, some people have been thinking about it, and there are good reasons. There are good reasons. But my sources, which are different, have actually basically mentioned to me that it is the most human way of reducing the Earth population.
right. But the question, what are the sources, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay. As you know, we've talked a couple of times on emails, etc. I've had a few communication for quite a long time. So this comes from a quite simply civilization which is very involved with our everyday doing over here.
Okay. Oh, I see. So are you saying that they're in favor, if that is the case, that it's reducing the population, but see, doesn't that, so basically, are they saying that as long as a person is aware of the debts, the effect they would have? Or you're saying that they're getting if they get this vaccine, not knowing that they then will not have any options to procreate.
That's right. That's right. So this is basically being done a little bit under our noses.
And so, okay,
The true purpose of the vaccine. I mean, I'm obviously wrong about this, and I am a raving lunatic. And how would you say? I am definitely pro-vaccine, and whatever I'm saying is totally wrong. After saying all that, it is, as I mentioned, the most human way to solve our overpopulation problem without having to refer to full-on wars, right? Which would actually create a lot of trauma.
so why do you think we have an overpopulation problem?
We have an overpopulation problem. It's mainly due to our resources.
Well, do you not think that it's mainly how we manage the resources and not necessarily that there isn't enough?
It is totally correct, Adnan. It is totally correct. Actually, when you think of it, you would put all the population, right, the 7 billion on a few bits that we have on the planet. If you would put all those people shoulder to shoulder, face to face, back to back, so totally squeezed like sardines in a tin, right? The whole population would actually fit in the state of New York.
Right.
Right, so we are not all that many, but
yeah, I've heard something different. Like too, I heard it more like they're using the. I think Jim Mars at one point used the example of the state of Texas and was saying that you could give so many plots of land to each person, and every person on the planet would have that, and they will all still fit in the state of Texas. So yes, I think indeed. It's right. So I think it's mainly about, well, here's the thing. I don't want to go off a tangent, but I think I'm hoping I'll come back around. A lot of people they mistake free market ideas with capitalism. Or I should not capitalism, meaning corporations. So like what's generally known as capitalism, people conflate capitalism and corporations at the same time, because capitalism was actually, from what I read, a derogatory term by a socialist or a communist, those dirty capitalists, and so that kind of stuck. Yes. Right, that kind of stuck. But the point here is that to me, and if you really break down capitalism, if I have a product and I made it using my resources, selling to you upon agreed price, and let's say you and I exchange it, that is capitalism, but the big difference is how you are doing that, whether there's morals involved or not. And so you have these corporations that have no morals, they have no limits, they don't care how much they consume or what they do. And so of course, then they take advantage of the free market, the capitalism system to do what they do. So then people, of course, look at that action and say, capitalism is bad, capitalism is wrong. It's like capitalism in a sense, all it is just, a pre-agreed upon exchange of goods, and price and what you get, for the money that you spend. It's the corporations that just are the crazies, that just have no limits. Like Nestle, there for a while, I don't know if they achieved it, they wanted to, cap a well and control the water that was coming out, which would then cut out the water to like a Indian reservation and other people that are in that area. It's like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's not capitalism, that's lunacy, that's corporations, absolutely. That's corporations not having any moral to what they do, and so that's the sad part, that the what we understand as capitalism has to be conflated with corporations and put together. Anyway, just my 2 cents. So I'm thinking that when it comes to a lot of these things, if people would just truly were left to function under the free market, things would balance themselves out. Things would balance themselves out, but we're never allowed to. If banks were, they're supposed to fail are in the process of failing, oh, whoop-de-doo, there is the government bailing them out. It's like they're failing for a reason. If something is not working, it's not working for a reason. It's like, and maybe it needs to be, letting it crumble, letting it go down so that something new can arise. I mean, look at the '08 crisis that they were having and bailing everyone out, everyone and their mother, and instead, people got sick and tired, and then all of a sudden cryptocurrency came about because they were getting sick and tired of treated the way the big banks and corporations were generally doing business.
Yes, yes. Actually, about Bitcoin on cryptocurrency, I've heard a very interesting story of.
Go ahead.
It's in the States actually, of a gentleman that and all those bitcoins, they are stored on your computer, and he was one of the first person to heavily invest in bitcoins. I think invested something like $75,000. Right, and that was kept on his hard drive, and by mistake he threw his hard drive.
Yep,
right, and right now it's costing him 200 million. So he's there scouring the poor guy, the rubbish tip, and knowing there's 200 million in his computer that he cannot touch. It's quite wicked how it works.
Right?
And,
did you
also? Yeah.
No, I was so this was the one that lost the password, right? Is that what you're referring to?
He actually lost his hard drive when all the information required.
Oh, okay. Well, there was another one that I don't know if this is the same guy that then it got thrown away, and then he was asked in the courts if he could search the landfill.
Yeah, the rubbish tip.
Okay, that's the one. Okay, all right, we're on the same page now. All right. Fab, let's just real quick to ask you. I don't know if she's still on. Claudine was saying something about, said, did you try BiPAP, BiPAP machine? It says, sorry to hear this.
Oh, that's all right. I've heard of BiPAP machines. Frankly, it's something that has been mentioned to me. I feel a little bit uneasy to rely on the machine to breathe, basically, and I know that it does help for a lot of persons, but I don't know if it's laziness from my part, and the thing as well, I'm so used to my condition now that it's part of life, so it's. But thanks for reminding me. I will probably look at it again just to be able to communicate better, and because my mind is working fine, but my English is getting worse and worse, and to formulate thought is not as easy to do it via vocal, which is a sign of being extremely tired. And we were talking about resources before as well, and the thing to remember as well, what we really are in deep trouble with is the lack of fresh water. And that is definitely the sort of situation.
What's going on that you know of?
There is not enough fresh water going on right now, and with also the climatic changes, we're having a situation where the salt is starting to seep into the nephritic water, so the water is polluted. Our use of pesticides and how do you call that? That's being tied to help things to grow. Pesticides and they use elements to help plants grow. Fertilizers. Here we go.
Right.
Fertilizers. It takes about 75 years once you apply this on the field, right? It takes 75 years to actually seep into nephritic water. That's the water that you've got on the ground, which is fresh water, right? So although it's okay now, it's kind of okay. It's taking 75 years of use of those elements to actually seep in, and it's starting to contaminate the fresh water now.
Right.
Right. So even if you take back,
this is going on in France.
This is going on worldwide.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's I haven't heard that. I'll look into it. That's interesting.
Yeah. You can look into it on online, etc. It's on the report
Okay.
in many. It's been looked at, etc. And also, we need to do a very big jump on the artificial intelligence. So we need resources to have that leap in artificial intelligence to actually really happen, but it cannot happen for everybody because we haven't got enough resources for that.
Okay.
Quite simply, quite simply. So there you go. We are in a little bit of a mess, and I think some ideas have been pushed forward, etc. And from what my sources, which are obviously total lunacy, total craziness. My sources have been quite clear on that.
Right. Well, I mean, I certainly would hope that that's not the case. If it is, then that people to be actually aware before they make a decision. Because if I was a young man and I was like, oh yeah, I'm just getting a vaccine so I can go clubbing, and they're like, oh yeah, and by the way, you can't have any more children, I would be pissed.
Yes. Well, it's something very similar happened in Uganda, I believe, in the 1990s when is it Uganda or Angola in Africa, when they had a huge overpopulation problem. And we had some philanthropic people, some very rich millionaires, billionaires. I think we know who I'm talking about here.
I think I
That
know who you're
decided
talking
to
about.
to give the pill, the
Right.
birthright, etc., to all those nice young ladies down there, and even especially the very young ones, and to realize later on that actually that pill made those people quite simply infertile.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I
And
saw some of the signs that they were holding. I know it's been a while since then, but yeah, it was they just it was I don't know, that just it was heart wrenching, to just listen to them speak too, because they're like, I wanted birth control, not
that's it. Yeah.
infertility. It's and it's nothing. Nothing happened. They're still around. Like everything is going as business as usual. So
That's
there,
it.
there we
Yeah.
are, another corporate decision made by very immoral people.
That's the one. Perhaps they've got at heart what's best for people in general, but to me it looks like more a psychopath, a sociopath, hedonist way of thinking. And
Right.
unfortunately, that's the people that we have on the top most of the time. We elected those people, and maybe there is a consensus that it's the best way to go about it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I think if just a lot more of us are more aware of who exactly they're electing and actually doing a lot more. I mean, there's such an overused word. I mean, I don't know how else to call it, but just to say research. And to most people, research means I watched a video, so I know. It's like, no, we're
That's
not
it. Yeah.
talking. Yeah, it's like we're not talking about, you know, minor things
It's
here. It's like to do research means like read the documents available, read the different point of views. That's what research is. They'll see one video, one point of view, and they're like, okay, that sounds good. I'll go with that. And call it
Yeah,
research,
absolutely. Yeah, of course. It's pre-digested information that people can just quite simply eat, and then go, oh yeah, I feel better about my life now, and I can go and watch TV a little bit, watch footy game, or do whatever, and I can sleep better,
Right.
So since I don't sleep, I don't fall into that category.
Right. Okay. Well, Fab, thanks again. I really appreciate you, chiming in, and I think this is the longest I've ever had a stream
Yes,
go. I'm getting to 3.5 hours, so I'm happy I get to, I
yes,
guess, finish it up with you.
yes. You definitely stretched it here, so there
Yeah, I
you
need
go.
to come
I
up
could
with
do.
some graphics so I can put up some, like, I'll be right back, because I have a graphic that'll take over the whole screen, but I didn't want that. I want the conversation to continue, even though I'm just, getting up to go to the bathroom or something, So I'll come up with
Yeah, it should be
another.
possible, huh?
Yes, come up with
And
something.
by the way, just to keep on going, on really make you suffer. Did you receive the link with that video I sent you about this strange UFO that fell down
Yeah,
on the ground from the?
Right, I did. No, I looked into it, and there were. I don't know if you got to see the same thing. A lot of the things that I was able to find, and there were two separate sources indicating the same thing, that it was actually a space shuttle saying that the parachute didn't open, and so
Yeah,
as it was descending down, it just fell, and we saw what we saw. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's more?
there, there are no space shuttles of that type, that size,
And
that were
right,
existed at the
because it
time for
looks like a
that. It's
UFO. It does look like a UFO that just basically crashed and buried itself into a ground.
Yeah, if you really look into the details and on the way that that UAP is structurized, it's definitely not something that comes out of a space shuttle. Right. It
Right.
has been said also they invented something to actually go and retrieve some space junk. It's in 1972, no go, 1998. Very hard to do, but if it was something like that, where is the automatic arm that goes on retrieves the thing? No, it's yes, very very unusual. And actually, when you look at the thing itself, when it's crashed, and you're good with computer, etc. You have a good look at the details, etc. You definitely see a dome. You definitely see what looks like to be windows. You definitely see a roof on. It's definitely round, and it's definitely not a space shuttle.
Right.
So is
Yeah.
it perhaps
As we're talking, are you in front of your computer?
Yeah. It just turned off, but yep.
Oh no, that's fine. I'm trying to. I'm looking through the email that you've sent me, and I wanted to actually.
It could well be something that has been reconstructed from crash things. It also looks very much like a few pictures of the so-called Virmana that in Germany in 1934 they managed to actually reconstruct. It looks very very similar to that. It looks also very similar to the UAP. Yeah, you've got the soundtrack.
Yeah, you're only hearing it on. Actually, let me undo it here. So here. Go ahead. This is what we were talking about. Those that are watching, this is what you sent to me. Yeah, I don't know. I've personally never seen a capsule to be exactly like that. Capsules were more like a teardrop. This is more flat, not flat, but
It's
more of
very
a
unusual,
disc
yeah.
shape. Yeah, no, definitely very unusual. And then they're saying it's basically a quote unquote capsule that the parachute didn't unfold, but it's very weird capsule. Let's just say that. But then again, I'm not an expert on capsules. I don't know how much you know, but I don't know what else is out there that all those people are working on.
I've been a space junkie since I'm a kid, so it's
Right.
it could be quite simply some type of device that we don't really know of, but and also I am not totally convinced that the soundtrack belongs to the video itself.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. I don't know. I just assumed it was, but yeah, that's a possibility. Having them basically kind of put that in there to make it look like, oh, this is a mission we were working on, but not really.
Especially when you look at the, how fast, it actually falls down,
Right.
and the rate of spinning, it is basically impossible to even think, or they're thinking that some shoot is going to come out.
Oh, if
So
there
the
were
fact-
supposed to be humans in there, I don't want to think about it, but they're dead. They're dead at this point. I mean, with that
Yeah,
impact, I
yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
astronauts or
So-
whatever, whoever they put up there.
Yeah, it's very silly for mission control to mention, oh, we are waiting for the shoots to happen. Oh no, it's not happening. I mean, have you seen the rate of spinning of that thing? It's
Right.
it's beyond stupidity.
Right.
So
Well,
there you
I
go. Well, I'm glad you found it interesting. So Project Aurora, I think they quitted that in 1972 to reopen it in 1998. And
Okay.
that footage, by the way, has never been denied as being factual. It's being recognized.
Right. Well, see, one other interesting point, I mean, the little bit that I know about capsules, they're more like teardrop. So the heavy part always kind of falls down, straight down. And then it releases the shoots. And so it's bottom heavy, from what I understand. And so to have this one to be more like an actual disc and then just kind of flopping around, it has to be something either new that they did, or they're just not telling us exactly what that is, that it's actually alien related, but they're saying, oh no, it's ours. Nothing to see here.
And if I'm wrong as well, maybe it's my eyes playing trick, etc. But it looks like the bottom of the so-called capsule, right, of that UAP is always dark, right?
Yeah, possibly because of
when
all the shielding because of the re-entry and the high heat.
Well, the thing with the so-called flying saucers, right? Every time it's been reported, and I've seen it with my own eyes as well, the bottom of the saucer is always darker than the top.
Hold on,
Right.
let's see here. I'm looking now. You got me. You really want me to go on for 4 hours, don't you?
Only 4 hours. A bit
Hold on,
stressed, but I'll let you go.
Yeah, 11. No. I don't know if you're watching the video. I'm actually now trying to do some
No,
some
my
quote unquote
computer is-
research here. Hold on, give me a second. Space capsule.
So yeah, but I've watched, like hundreds and hundreds of footage on the internet. Like usually, either I'm laughing or I get upset, for people putting
Right.
BS, etc. But this
Well, so-
footage is actually also
Right.
too old to have CGI. It's too old to have CGI, and to me, it looks maybe we've got a case with that one.
Right. Let me see here.
Number one, it's not being denied. Number two, it's too old to have CGI. And number three, we're just getting a story, So, I mean, we got a story for Roswell. We got a story for so many things.
Right.
And it's quite easy to sell. Well, shoots and. But that's one thing I've noticed. Like the bottom of the thing, every time it spins, it's hard to tell, right? But if you really looked into it, right, the dark is always there, right? So it's not a reflection of the sun, otherwise it would shine off.
Right.
And one thing is for sure with flying saucer, the bottom is always darker than the top. Always. I've seen it with my own eyes twice.
Right.
One real up close.
Let me see here. So there's that. I'm just gonna mute it here. Go back to
And
my-
also,
Right. No,
if
this
it
is
was
definitely a lot more disc shaped, because if I go back to capsules, there's one that I can see. It's darker. This one has more of that black shielding.
And when you think of it, right, if it is something from the shuttle, the speed that it actually coming down and is crushing into right? This thing should have obliterated into thousands of pieces all over the place, and maybe there'll be one little thing here, one little thing here that you
Right.
can tell, oh, yeah, etc. When this thing is like totally intact, except for the big crack in the middle.
Yeah, you're right, because that's a huge impact for it to just not, for it not to be obliterated.
So I've seen that one couple of times, then I came across it not so long ago. So I'm going to send it to Adnan because I quite like that one.
Right. Yeah, no, compared to, I don't know which capsules, whatever other capsules they have, there's your more traditional one that I know of, the originals. Okay. All right. Well, this is something to ponder about. So we'll see what everyone else has to say about these.
Okay, Adnan Inolvas, thank you very much for your podcast again, and
Yeah, no problem. I don't know if you saw on
people
YouTube, I was basically kept switching back and forth between the capsules and the one falling and so on, to see if there's some kind of similarities. And no, it looks different, way more saucer shaped than
there's nothing like it. Exactly, there's nothing like it.
Okay.
Especially when
go ahead.
Yeah, just to finish, especially when you see the wreck on the ground, you realize that this is not from NASA. It's quite clear on that one.
Right.
Okay, so in all this, thank you very much for your patience. Once again, I will apologize with my accent, which I know can be a little bit scratchy.
You should, Fabrice. This is unacceptable. You drive
shame
you
on
crazy.
Me, exactly. Shame on me. I'm gonna have to learn sign language.
That's right. Over the web. All right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. Thanks again for, finishing up strong with some UFO comparison and a little bit of conspiracy. So there we go. We got back on track. So, all right. Well, Fab, have a good day, I guess. I know you're not going to go to bed. I'm going to go to bed here soon too. So thanks again, and we'll chat again.
Yeah, I'm just going to go and see. Outside it's a bit dark here. I've got about 2 hours of darkness. I'm going to see if I can spot something in the sky, and if not, I'll be watching the sunrise.
All right, good deal. Take some pictures.
All right, good night, everyone. Have a lovely day. Peace and love, and all my thought to people that are struggling a little bit with the hard times.
All right, Fab. Thanks again. You take care.
Okay, bye-bye. Cheers.
All right. Well, I guess this is the longest I've ever gone. I hope you got something. If anything, if you got something from this, but if anything, I appreciate you simply... There we go. I don't know why I was muted. Thank you for simply joining me today. Going on this long marathon, 3 hours and 41 minutes of just talking to you guys, and I enjoyed very much. And I'm glad there was enough interest, because that's part of the reason why I do it online, so that most of you can actually log in. If you can't go to meetings or just want to talk about some crazy weird things, this will be the place to do that, especially when we share some stories amongst each other. And so I appreciate you all again very much for joining me. This Friday, I'm going to have John DeSosa on, and I believe he's an ex-FBI agent, and we'll be talking about some interesting... I guess there's a book out that he has called the Interdimensionals. So we'll kind of be discussing that and whatever else he was able to learn while in service. And so I need to actually then look up a little bit more about him as well. But either way, he'll tell me plenty on Friday. It's at 7 p.m. Central Time. And so probably tomorrow I will be creating that stream on YouTube and have it out there to set as a reminder for all of you. So again, thanks very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a good day, good night, wherever you are, and I'll catch you later.